I know you don't want to go as long today. Maybe just one more.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I'm actually
so much.
There's so much.
I know.
So much to talk about. I don't know.
Scandals, the investigations.
Like, I'm the most investigated innocent person in America, and they just, you know, they are just. See, that's why this is not just politics. It's deep cultural stuff. And anyway, I do want to talk to you about all that.
Yeah, me too. All right.
Clunk, clunk. Here we go.
Greetings, friends. Greeting from the quarantine cube. We're back again. It's me, Matt, and Amber, but we brought a couple special guests. You might remember, of course, lost brother Brendan.
Hello.
And a close personal friend of mine, Catherine Krieger.
Hi, how's it going?
Yes, we're all in the quarantine cube together, and we've got a humdinger of an episode for you.
Each other up.
This will be part one of our hyper Jokerfication. We have just watched
Step one.
We have just watched step one of being hyper Jokerfied.
Right.
Is of course watching the new Hillary Clinton docu-series
Man,
on
I felt the
Hulu.
Joker. The Joker corpuscles were throbbing. Like I was vibrating with Jokerfication watching that shit.
So we have just watched the first two episodes of the new documentary miniseries. We will definitely be watching episode 3 and 4.
Yes.
We got to bring every hit to you of this. So that's the preamble for today's show. But let's get to the main course. Let's get to this.
Tuck into this delicious feast.
Strap in, boys and girls, because we're going Hillary. Ooh. We feel great. We've just watched basically 2.5 hours. Ooh. The first 2 episodes
Excruciating
of the Hulu docu-series Hillary.
It was really bad.
I
mean, you may be surprised to know this, but
it's not even entertaining, really.
Yeah.
The thing
mostly it's boring.
It's pretty boring.
Yes.
I wish we would have watched like the True Hollywood Story version of this.
It would
behind the music.
It would be a million times better.
John Podesta.
It's a hagiography. I mean, those are never interesting.
It's a pure hagiography and
biography of a hag. Yeah.
Yes. No, just to underscore what Catherine said, there are so many moments in this that are nauseating, like both as a whole and specifically, but the overwhelming experience of watching it, at least the first 2 episodes, is absolute boredom.
Yep.
Because we haven't gotten to her huge losses yet.
Yeah.
Like, she hasn't.
That's going to be hilarious. But
that's going to be great.
It should
because
be
what
interesting.
really defines you is how you act in the face of adversity, you know?
Sure.
So I think we're really going to see her character come out in a big way.
The thing is, it should be interesting, but I don't know. I feel like anyone would have made this
there's no
interesting.
It's like
Exactly.
the story of a perfect person.
It's like when we were watching it. And
because that is why True Hollywood Stories are so fucking good, because they're like, hey, you want to know about how Tracy Lords is doing? You're like, yeah, I do.
Like, hey, look at all this fucked up shit.
Yeah. Look at this person with this insane life, and isn't fucked up, and they make horrible mistakes or whatever. Like, but they don't want to give her just like a sprinkle of Anna Nicole Smith or anything, which
she's
would,
perfect.
ironically, actually make her a little more likable.
Because
to be fair, she's never like in her pinky nail is not as interesting as Anna Nicole Smith was.
None of us are.
But if the documentary was only sympathetic, that would be one thing. Because a sympathetic documentary could still place inserts.
We're fine. Everyone's fine.
Insert drama or an arc. Like when we were watching it very early on, it talks about how she for a millisecond mentions how she volunteered for Goldwater, and you could go, oh look, she made a journey. You know that originally she was down with someone who was not so good on civil rights and was not actually a progressive. But then if you wanted to be sympathetic, you could create this arc. They don't even do that. Everything is flattened into intercut with footage of people marching that don't include her in the civil rights movement. She has always been good. She has always been just, and that's boring.
You know what it is that you can't actually be sympathetic to someone without flaws and weaknesses.
And you want to iron all that out.
Yeah,
they're not human.
They're just like, oh no, she's a Superman, and
so
it's like, who cares?
So I mean, let's just go through this. Like, I have all my notes here of what's actually in this movie, and like the overall structure is that it's based around one-on-one interviews with mostly Hillary Clinton herself, and then like a lot of her inner circle, and then
90% stock footage of places that she wasn't in.
Yeah, and then like a few supposedly objective journalists who covered her campaign for like the mainstream media, right? but like it basically intersperses, like it cuts back and forth between the story of the 2016 election, which features all of this totally off the cuff and completely authentic behind the scenes
I
footage.
was like, is
Lord.
this a Maisels Brothers movie? It's like fly on the fucking wall.
And I'm sure all of this was originally filmed for the idea that like
This would be a
this would
victory
be,
doc.
yeah, exactly.
This was history in the making. This was her story in the making.
after her second term, it would come out, and be like, this is the real story of
Yep.
how she did it and saved America. And then it cuts back and forth between a narrative about the 2016 election and a narrative about her life starting from about college on.
It does not work.
It's totally
it's
a nerd.
It's definitely like the first problem is obviously like they just had all this leftover footage that they had to make like French toast out of stale bread with or something, and
That's a pleasing result, though. This was not pleasing.
yeah, this is not pleasing.
Well, one thing that makes it very jarring is it has a feeling of being in an argument with a drunk person or something, where it's just like these jagged digressions, because it's like she's talking about going to college.
They're
and then all
not
of a
doing any
sudden-
linear.
All of a sudden they cut to, and by the way, the email thing was totally cool.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Because she's literally like, and then she went to college, and then by the way, and that just 20 minutes on why, and not like totally disconnected on just why the email deal wasn't a big thing, and it was
and then
overblown.
Whitewater, and then
right,
and then it's just completely out of order.
It's trying to be stylistic and Terrence Malick and like, oh, this is non-linear. You were jumping all over. She's always the same person, so you're just seeing snapshots of her life, but it doesn't have any kind of cumulative effect.
So
It's
much
just
so
annoying.
that also you're like at multiple times we all notice we're like, why
Where
would
are
I care
we?
about this person?
Yeah.
And what year is this?
Yeah.
And she's not accomplished enough for us to care about the moment.
Right, because you're supposed to think, wow, look at all this stuff in the past that she was doing, these breakthroughs in the glass ceiling and all these different ways, which I mean doesn't happen. She doesn't really
Didn't do
accomplish a
anything.
lot. And then when you cut ahead to 2016 or 2008, you're supposed to kind of the supposed effect would be to have you go, wow, now she's at the apex, and I'm seeing snapshots of how she got there. But you're just seeing someone who completely like conned and managed and PR and focus grouped their way into that position without any real bravery or courage or historical place.
And it's the Forrest Gump thing, like basically. It's like watching Forrest Gump, where it's like a tour through, like basically a tour through
Watergate.
the last history, and they just kind of like put someone in there.
Yes. Yeah,
Except-
she is
except-
superimposed.
Yeah,
And
the
then-
mythical Hillary.
Except
that is
unlike
superimposed.
Forrest Gump, which is of course American history is through the eyes of a good-hearted simpleton, this is through the eyes of a black-hearted simpleton.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, so let's go. Episode 1 is titled Golden Girl. And it begins with like her getting her makeup put on, sitting down for like the interview that will form the spine of this like entire, finally Hillary is going to give you the real deal. What this woman who's always been sort of a sphinx-like in her public persona.
She's gonna get
and opinion,
real.
She's going to get real. And the person interviewing her says, "We want to hear your story unvarnished." Which is hilarious as the director of this movie. This is just about the most varnished portrayal of a human being you could possibly
Also,
imagine.
they're literally putting on varnish to her face.
Makeup.
we
yeah.
would like this interview to be Jim Varney.
Well, I would love to see the
R.I.P.
movie Hillary Goes to Jail. Let's
Yeah,
put it that way.
seriously.
So the first question she's asked on screen is, do you feel frustrated that you've been in public life for 40 years and people don't know who you are? Or that they seem to think that you're inauthentic in some way? Or people just don't like you for some reason? And she says, I've always provoked strong opinions. And I think like that should be on my gravestone.
Also, really just sets like the pace and the tone for everything that is to come. It's like, let's start with this really canned question.
Softball.
Just softball straight down the middle.
So it begins with...
And she
Are
says
you
nothing
frustrated that
illuminating.
People don't, that people don't realize how awesome you are.
Yeah, is it possible you've been too righteous and competent and wonderful?
Every time they go to acknowledge any like mistake or flaw, which of course she never actually admits any like immoral or unethical thing, which there's plenty of, I'm sure. But what she does do is this weird kind of like judo of like flipping it around to make it seem like, yeah, I guess I cared a little too much.
Yeah.
Or I kept it too real.
real quick,
And they couldn't handle me.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to talk about just like the opening credit sequence of each episode of this documentary.
Oh,
features
yeah.
this
Lord.
sort of power punk pop like
That's real bad.
we're gonna fight. Are you a fighter?
Tomorrow, are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you
very
like,
fast
and then
cutted
this
shots of
incredibly
Hillary.
like fast cut of like photos of Hillary Clinton from an infant to the present. And it like only lasts like about 10 or 20 seconds, but it hits you with this barrage.
Yeah.
This
It's like when
fast
the-
like motion for like traveling through time of Hillary Clinton's faith. And it very much has like a sort of Francis Dollarhide. Like, do you see Hillary changing? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it
imagine
looks
what the subliminal message
Yeah.
pasted in
And
between
And then the last
cuts
thing
in.
is just Hillary on a black background with big letters. It really is like a Gaspar Noé opening
yeah,
credits
yeah,
sequence.
yeah. Enter
But also,
the Hillary.
who
Yeah, enter the Hillary.
I with that intro, I also couldn't really figure out like who the target audience for this is going to be.
Really?
Because like I'm like, why is there like Christian Malpunk intro and then they try to it's like they can't decide whether or not it's for Hillary's contemporaries or like the girl boss brigade.
I think it's the latter, and I think that even the former would think, "Oh, this is an edgy kind of
Just
Yeah, oh,
like,
that's
just like we think
Girl
Hillary
Boss
has always
Brigade-
been.
The girl boss brigade have already moved on because they are disloyal, because they are matricidal.
I think there's a holdout though that this
Women of
I'm-
a certain
they-
age are holding out. They still,
No, the old women, but the girl boss brigade. I'm talking about millennials.
yeah.
Like I feel like they
I think
don't know
if
who this
you're
is
I
for.
think you're a Warren girl, like you still have, maybe you're not fangirling as publicly and as hard, but I still think
think they're
you
done with her.
basically look back at 2016 and you're like, damn, she got a really bad
a lot of the
deal.
K-Hives say Hillary could have saved us, and that she was done
They're also
dirty.
still saying like basically don't like look around like what Hillary would have been doing.
Earth 2, Hillary is signing whatever.
people our age though.
No, I don't know.
I agree with
Right.
you that I think there's a misapprehension about who would want this. But,
Yeah, they don't even seem to understand who their audience should be, and it's kind of a one size fits none.
but there still are those holdouts for Hillary that are the obvious.
So,
audience.
it begins like giving you a sketch of her. Like, there's a very little bit about her, like her early life and childhood, and like the only point that they're underscoring here is that she comes from like a very like typical post-war white suburban family that was conservative in its politics, and that she always sort of bucked that trend a little bit.
She was always destined for big things.
And even though she says like when I was growing up, like I never thought I could be president. That's just not something I thought of.
it is Stalin shit. It is so faux,
like-
modesty.
Stalin was
and-
cool.
Well, yeah, I'm bad mouthing Stalin by saying
Here
that,
she
but-
is working with the most productive factory worker of that quarter.
Yeah.
Like,
Robbed a bank. It's cool.
So and like it sort of it kicks into gear when it talks about like she was sort of like a young person going to college in the 60s, and Brendan alluded to it earlier, but they do this thing where they talk about like she went to Wellesley, and this is where like at the civil rights movement and the anti-Vietnam War movement. And
Which, by the way, this is one of the few situations where she kind of takes a sleight of hand to kind of push the feminist stuff when actually it was just advantageous to her. So she said she went to Wellesley because she wanted like something like a women's girl, like a women's experience or whatever. Not mentioning that actually like Wellesley is a 7 sister schools, and it's probably the most elite school she could have gotten into.
she frames that by being like, when I was in high school and I ran for class president, I never won because like
No one liked me.
no one would like the girl. Like a girl could never be class president, and then the boy who won class president immediately like made me do all the work. And it's just like all these canned stories from her life are like the phoniest bullshit imaginable.
Also-
they're just also just so and on the nose.
Yeah. And when she's
the writing this season.
when she's at college, I think it's college, she walks in, she stops by at one meeting of the Young Republicans, and then she goes, and then somehow I became president of the Young Republicans. She like accidentally
No,
gets
like,
elected
this whole
to the
thing-
Young Republicans.
This whole thing of this
Society.
era aligns completely, and like it joins her at the hip with the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, and like the nascent feminist
through
movement.
pure insinuation
And
or
then she
success.
says that she was
She
personally
was standing next to them.
that she was personally inspired by Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
and like a cool youth pastor, and she was like, I never understood how you could go to church on Sunday
she
and
was
then hate
standing.
on Monday.
She was standing around in Grant Park, which she uses as her opening to say, "Take it away,
no,
Will."
So, and Brendan alluded to this earlier, but like the documentary relies heavily on her telling these stories of being around all of this stuff.
Or going
It's
to,
very-
like, one
it's very clear that she
demonstration.
says, I just happened to end up being president of the Wellesley College Republicans. But they're talking about like all this social and turmoil and protests of the era. And they show tons of archival footage of like campus sit-ins and occupations and anti-war protests. Strangely enough, Hillary is never seen in any of these things. She's in every class photo that they can find from the yearbook, but there's no footage of her like speaking at an anti-war rally or for
You
getting
fill it in
arrested.
your
or
head.
shit. But in your head, if you're the uncanny pudding-headed viewer of this shit, it's just in your mind. It's just obviously Hillary Clinton was involved in all of this, and she tells a story about the '68 Democratic Convention in Chicago. She says, we just, we needed to go to Grant Park. And like, I was thinking in my head, what, like help the police and Mayor Daley, like clean up this rabble in the streets.
The riffraff.
And then what she talks about in that example, she was like, people were throwing rocks and it was like, well, who are they throwing rocks at? It'll hit all the other kids. And she was like, I was never someone who thought you could solve violence with violence. And it's just like, oh, well, unless it's Libya or Iraq.
right.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just saying, I advised Will to go for a leather couch.
Yeah.
Well, he never
the cat
passed
is
on.
doing
He never
violence to
passed
the
on that
couch.
advice. We're very happy.
Sorry,
with
the
couch.
cats are
The cats are at it again.
folks.
So,
Yeah, but it's a very boomer thing too, is to just be like, yeah, I remember when we were all doing that stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like, who's
I
we?
too was putting daisies in like the
barrels of guns,
the barrels
yeah,
of
yeah.
guns of like the National Guard
And
on
also,
campus.
it could not contrast further. I don't think the film is aware of this. Certainly, the viewers who want this film wouldn't be aware of it. Could not contrast further with the messaging from her professional political career, in which she tells everybody, "Don't be radical.
Yes.
Don't ask for more.
Yeah.
Don't demand the impossible." In the part where it's the '60s, and it was a long time ago, and I may or may not have been a part of any of this shit. It was, we wanted to push the
Yep.
envelope.
Right.
We wanted to demand the impossible, and then it like does the time jump. And then you see her in 2008 or 2016 going, we need reasonable policy solutions that do not push the envelope.
Yes.
And it's like,
We gotta
this
be
is undermining
realistic.
the entire narrative.
Right,
It's not only
right.
sloppy.
No, she says after saying, I was never a person who thought, like you could solve violence with violence. And like, even though she's talking about being at like the '68 riot at the Democratic Convention, again, not even clear at all how much she was there for it.
Yeah.
They just said, me and my friends went to Grant Park and we told our parents we were going to a movie. It's like, you're in college. Why are you calling your parents?
Again,
out
First
for
of
permission?
all,
Yeah.
fucking nerd shit.
Reverse
Yeah.
engineering, like we were
I
being
think
cheeky.
there's just a ton of lies in it. Like a lot of this is just like very like
Well, it's
small
all about
things.
myth making.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that's what her entire
And part-
public career has been about.
And part of the myth here is that, like, of course, she was involved in this, like, what have looked at now as a very righteous moment of like protests in American history. But the myth that she's selling about herself in the present is like, this is the beginning of like, I was there for all that stuff, but I've always been a pragmatic idealist.
Yes.
I've always been a problem
I
solver.
certainly wasn't radicalized by the civil rights movement.
I wasn't throwing rocks at the Chicago police.
Like
you know,
I was
like-
on the right side of history, but only in as much as like I had no skin in the game.
I think the one thing she did was give like a counter speech to a commencement speaker.
She became. They said,
Senator Brooks.
It wasn't even
her
a
senior
counter
year- No, it
speech.
was her senior year, and their commencement speaker at Wellesley was the Republican senator, I think from Massachusetts, Senator Brooks. Edmund Brooke, who gave a sort of like, yeah, well, ladies,
Yeah.
see, like,
Yeah.
see here, ladies,
Yeah.
there's a fine line, you see, between speaking your mind and speaking too much.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
pipe down, honey.
And then she said, like, I don't agree.
Yeah,
okay,
and then like
thank you,
she
everybody.
was just chosen apparently by her class, not elected. One of her friends even says there was no vote or process. She was just chosen as the student speaker
Foreshadowing.
that year at our graduation, and then like she went out there and goes
The superdelegates
She goes
in the
off
class are the ones
book.
who
Yeah,
chose
she
her
goes
there.
off book and is like,
but as mildly as possible. She's like, well, with all due respect to the senator there, I think.
And I don't think it was, despite the sleight of hand of the documentary and whatever, documentaries, there's some artistic license, I guess, but it's not the audio from the time.
It's not.
It's like
yeah.
this
Definitely
more
not.
well articulated, perfectly clear,
Yeah.
which
unlike
we
the
see,
senator's
which
audio.
we see again and again.
But there's
It's
also
somewhat-
like
it's somewhat-
no, there's also no like disagree. Like no one would hear that and be
It's
like,
so
oh, she showed
crystal
him.
clear.
Yeah.
they actually got Morgan Freeman to do this.
Yeah, it's really weird. You're like, wow.
Hello, I'm Hillary Clinton.
I don't believe you, Senator.
So from there, then it goes back to the 2016 narrative. And I think my favorite part about this documentary is seeing all of these like Hillary Renfields, all these campaign workers, all these guys like
disgusting Brooke
Nick
Grubb-
Merrill,
Robbie
James
Mook.
Sullivan, Robbie Mook,
Just vile
all of
creatures.
these
The
like
Clinton Foundation tour goes.
yes. all the
That's the scene every time.
all the Clinton Torgos show up and they're like, Yes, Hillary, my master.
I'm on
My life for you. My life for you, Hillary. Like, and then they're like, it's so funny watching in retrospect. Like, how did this gang possibly lose?
Wow.
Like,
all the
this
smartest
collection
people in the room.
of sniveling, ass kissing incompetence.
Translucent
You see Robbie
skinned.
Mook's like plans for a big app that he's gonna do in the background when it's being filmed someday.
And the first thing they talk about is the email servers. And they sort of set it up like,
Let's get straight to it.
She was done wrong from the very beginning. And the way they talk about it is so funny. They said that the email servers prevented people from ever really knowing how much she truly cared, because everything she wanted to talk about small businesses, but everyone was just asking her about the email
So
servers.
guess what? I don't really care because fuck small businesses
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
There's this footage, to your point, though, that they shovel that in. It's like there's footage of her in 2008. She's walking by, and there's these two guys who I don't think say anything to her or ask to talk
They
to
just
her.
mumble in response.
And she just goes, "Well, I always have supported small businesses, and I hope to be a small business president." And then walks away. And she's like, "That no, they weren't even talking to
It's
you."
just- it's just a drive-by.
She catcalled
Yes,
them.
she
Yeah.
catcalled
Like,
them.
I love small businesses. You're beautiful, baby.
It needs to be noted. She's talking about how I just couldn't get my message out there.
Yep.
She was in charge of what her ads said, right? Less than 10% of her ads referenced any fucking policies of any
Yep,
kind.
of course. And then I want to talk about
That's a true.
It was
with
the emails.
her.
man. It was the
Yeah.
emails.
the small like coterie of like actual journalists who show up to be like supposedly objective talking heads. The guy who's in it the most is Peter Baker of the New York Times. And the way he talks about this as like an issue that was covered or that he may be covered, but like in certain tones is really funny, because what he says about the email server issue is he says, quote, "The rules are very arcane." And it's like, no, they're not.
They're
You can't have a
literally not.
private email
just
server
put
that you
it
can
on
it's
a
actually
government
quite
server.
simple.
What
Yeah.
is private? What is public?
Put it in a government server. you're
And
done.
when they talk to Hillary about this to explain, why this happened, she just says, "Look, when I was Secretary of State, I just started using Bill's old email servers that he had for the Clinton Foundation,
like a shared couple's
he
Facebook
said,
page.
out of convenience."
Yeah.
It's like when a couple has a shared Facebook page,
Which is also menacing.
yeah.
Well, we have one, so
And then the next thing she says, Colin Powell, when he was Secretary of State, he did it too.
Yeah.
And it's
Another
like,
evil
oh, you
person.
mean that corrupt, evil piece of shit?
Right.
Who helped us get in the fucking Iraq war?
Remember
and
when
who's-
the Bush administration deleted millions of emails in the last days of the administration?
It's like that.
a guy
And it
who's
was
like,
a huge scandal, or it should have been, and it was a massive
a
crime.
guy like Colin Powell who when you hear his name in public, you should spit on the ground
Yeah.
instinctively. 'cause of-
Also, not running for president.
Yep. Yeah.
yeah. And then straight, and this is the other funny thing we noted, is that when they're talking to all of her, like the Hillary Torgos, they have this weird way of repeating the same phrases where they were like,
Yes.
on the email, like her private email servers, this was just stuff about, quote, yoga and Chelsea's wedding.
Yep.
And they all say, yeah, this wasn't anything. This is about yoga and Chelsea's wedding. Like they're just filling in, like that's the phrase.
and
Yeah,
like,
we got the
and like
Manchurian
spam
Candidate
emails from
programming.
Ann Taylor Loft.
So,
Yeah, they really have their talking points locked up a little too tightly for it to seem casual and organic as they would like.
And the first of many instances we should talk about later as they get bigger and bigger. One of many instances where the press basically failed Hillary.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and the whole establishment failed her because she just didn't play the game well enough to get the attention off these emails. She was too
real.
naive and pure and
was
just wanted to
too
talk about the
concerned
real
with
stuff.
Well, and the
what's best
media,
for
the
the
media
country.
was playing. They were like the people, the game masters.
And that guy, Peter
Right,
Baker,
wasn't he deeply involved in covering that story?
Yeah, he was covering. I actually I don't know, but probably. And then there's Amy
The Times
Chozick.
was,
Amy
for sure.
Chozick, who's another New York Times reporter, who was Hillary's beat reporter, who has completely been captured, like regulatory capture by her own beat, which happens a lot. And then one more reporter, I don't really remember who, but every one of them. Oh, Joe Klein is one of them.
he shows up in episode 2.
Yeah.
And I'll get to him. 'Cause
But
there's
they all walk that line of trying to present objectivity because they're a reporter, and this isn't a hagiography. We got the journalists who are covering the case, but they all end up saying, some people imagined that this was corrupt. Hillary saw it a different way. That's like the most. That's the most you're going to get
Yeah.
out of the critical.
And
side.
I just want to bring up, like, as far as this absolute hagiography goes, all this email shit is brought up at the beginning to be like, let's get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's get this
Let's
on the
get this
record about what a
conspiracy,
non-issue this is.
non-issue.
It's all supposed to be so exonerating, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to watch this and look back on it and be like, How could anyone have ever thought this was an issue?
But it's incredibly
even on its
damning.
own terms, it is so not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look so bad
It's
about
shady.
this shit. It's so fucking
But also,
shady.
you take the most rinky-dink controversy possible, because compared to Libya or fucking
Limited
Iraq War,
hangout.
limited hangout. You take the most rinky-dink thing and you put that up front. You put 20 minutes on it and go, yeah, it's complicated. No, did she do everything right? No. And that way, when you have to talk about Iraq or
Yeah.
about fucking Wall Street, it's all just like, well, we did the hard part already. This is
Yeah.
all you're
People
bored
are really
of that.
concerned about the emails.
Yeah.
But the fact that they put that first, like it was so early in the documentary, which makes no sense because they're trying to start out from her
Well, in
childhood.
this
and doing
non-linear
this non-linear.
storytelling.
Yeah,
Let's
this-
go to like the most recent
Yeah.
election.
They're gonna
Yeah.
show like whatever CGI of dinosaurs or whatever. It's very Terrence Malick, but like it doesn't.
Terrence Malick, but like extremely shitty.
Yes, it's very bad.
You learn
It makes
nothing.
no sense.
There's nothing illuminating about human nature.
It just doesn't.
tree of death.
It's they even
She
do
was the fruit plucked
their
from it.
like distraction method. They're throw them a little piece of something to distract them from this. They even do that wrong because they do it way too early.
Yes.
Thereby
Yeah, you're supposed to grow
emphasizing
up
the
with her.
email thing more.
Yeah.
So then, in moving along this narrative, it cuts back to she's graduated from college, and then she makes the choice to go to Yale Law School, right? Which is like cutting edge Ivy League, and it talks about like this is a moment where she really becomes like self-consciously part of the sort of second wave feminist movement. And
No
she
girls allowed.
She wanted to become a
Oh,
lawyer
yeah.
to practice family law and advocate on behalf of children and what I assume are their beautiful adrenal glands.
Again, another situation where she paints something as sort of feminist when in fact it's like just sort of advantageous to her. Like that's
Self-serving.
an area- Yes,
Yeah.
that's an area where she would have a leg up. Like the fucking or she talks about like not keeping her name. It was advantageous to her when she was going into family law or not changing her name,
Joining
going
a
into
law
family
firm.
law, to join a law firm. To have her own name because she has to, have this identity of like the feminist lawyer, and it was advantageous to her later to hyphenate
And
when
they
she was
talked
in a
to
bigger room.
And they talked to her friends from law school at that time who just basically like, I didn't want to go into family law because that was too feminine for me, and like I was too much of like a feminist, and like Hillary was actually
Even more radical than me.
It turned
'Cause she
out
was
we thought
brave
she
enough.
wasn't radical, but she was even more amazing.
And she tells the story of like the first day on campus of this human college that I was attending. These boys came up to me and all my fellow women students and said, "Hey, you dizzy broads, you don't belong in law school. Go home and make me a cake, and I hope I never see you again." And it's just like this did not.
It was
happen.
such a
It just
yes,
did not
this
happen.
Did not happen.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
was a
denying. I'm
Marine Top
sure,
moment.
like every there were still the social mores. We're not.
What a
we're not where
what
they.
a poignant symbol, though.
But it was so, as you say, too on the nose.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
hear
It
that and you
is.
go, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
They pulled my braids.
It's the most,
Dipped
san-
in
it's the
anything
most
else.
sanitized shit.
Yeah.
So then it talks about like another sort of like gem in her resume that we did hear a lot about during 2016. I remember hearing stories about this, and like Bill was the one pitching this really hard as like the humanizing element of her, is that she did like sort of like undercover work for the Children's Defense Fund in the Deep South, where she would like sort of like go in to like apply for a mortgage and be like, wink wink, there won't be too many black people in this neighborhood, and they'd be like, oh no, man, definitely not.
Yeah.
And then
She
reported
was a
back
secret shopper
Yeah.
for civil rights.
Yeah.
exactly.
They say it was dangerous for her to be, quote, poking
And
around.
then someone says of this thing, she was like, well, this was still
No,
the
Hillary says it.
I thought no, it was someone else who said
someone
it.
I thought it was
Yeah, it was,
Hillary.
it was
Friend
one
of
of
hers.
her little like tour guides.
classmates.
Says that well, now this was the 70s, and like this was still pretty dangerous
In the
for like a
South.
woman to be poking around the South or whatever. And Matt, as you pointed out, like she wasn't registering black voters or anything.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't like
fucking
she wasn't a
doing
freedom rider or
rides.
whatever.
Fuck
Yeah.
off.
She was a white woman, like
Well, she
applying
was,
for
she was
mortgage.
doing her own freedom.
Like nobody
ride.
even would know that she was doing that until later. Like, or they would never know. They would just like get a letter from like the fucking government saying stop being racist or whatever.
So and this is where they introduce
I've gotten one of those letters.
Cease and
If you're a
desist from
podcaster,
racism.
you've gotten one.
so this is where they
If you haven't
introduce
gotten at least one of those, you're not a real podcast.
this is when they introduce Slick Willie.
Oh yeah.
This is where he enters the story, and they meet at law school,
He's
and
a
then he
magic
becomes
man.
being featured in the present as an interview subject. I'll just say right off
Looking
the
like
bat,
Lady Elaine Fairchild.
Bill Clinton looks like shit.
He-
He
looks
not aging
abominable.
well.
And here's something else I want to notice. In the first episode especially, whenever he's talking about him and Hillary's relationship, he has this thing he does where his whole hand is touching his face.
Yes.
It's this weird,
Like Jack Benny.
It's like the cover of Paul Reiser's book about fatherhood or something like that, where he's just smiling beatifically. He's got his whole hand on covering his face, or he's touching his face. And this always reminded me of this rule I made for myself when I was in publishing, that if you look at an author photo on a book jacket and you can see the author's hands, especially if the hands are touching the person's face, you can be guaranteed 1,000% that they are full of shit.
Yes.
That's why
it is
Thomas,
a tell. It's
Thomas
a tell.
Friedman and Stephen March are all dying of corona right now because they
Yes.
won't stop touching their face.
Well, yeah, we don't know about Bill Clinton yet. Hopefully, he didn't,
looks like he
didn't,
had it
didn't
at the
stop
time of
touching his
filming this.
face.
Yeah.
So Bill says about like when he first started seeing Hillary around campus, he said, I just found her magnetic. And he said, I had just come out of a relationship and I was thinking I would never be in a relationship again. Of course, read between the lines. Like, I'm just going to be pulling tail and piecing out.
He also goes on to say, like, he never thought he would be married.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
So, and then he says,
That's not true either, because like a career politician,
have a
like
wife
you need a
and
wife.
one kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
so he says, like,
Well,
there's
but
just
she was the woman who tamed him.
there's just something about her that I found magnetic. And then Bill says, like, one of the first times, like, they encountered each other, like, in the same room, and he says, quote, I just couldn't bring myself to touch her on the shoulder. Which is like, for not alpha. young Joe Biden would not have hover-handed young Hillary
Absolutely
Clinton.
not.
He would have just swooped right in there
And groped
done
her.
the full Bush Angela Merkel back rub. Would have took a big whiff of hair. Started whispering in her ear. Like Joe Biden.
The whole
He would have sealed the deal
entire
immediately.
But also, I don't believe Bill Clinton is
No,
telling
I
the truth.
don't
No
believe
way.
anything Bill Clinton says, but he is, I have to say, we all have to acknowledge this, really fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Some of his early footage is just like, damn, he really was slick.
well, which further emphasizes that, like, I think he used to be a good speaker, but in this doc,
Oh, yeah.
he's just like a diminished
He's
form
kinda
of
like a
himself.
tremor or
He
something.
Yeah.
drank from the wrong grail.
He did. He did.
So, Hillary describes young Bill as like the most interesting man in the world. And again, there's just something about him that was just he was so charismatic and intelligent, blah, blah, blah. And Bill says, they go on, they take a vacation to Europe. She'd never been there for the first time. They're walking around castles in Wales. And Bill tells her, look, I really want to marry you, but you shouldn't marry me because I'm a bad
It's such a
guy.
fuckboy thing.
Yeah.
Like, basically, he was a fuckboy. But also, I feel like they're doing this weird thing where they're trying to make her sort of sound like the ingenue.
Yep.
And
Yes, or like a
Bill-
femme fatale or
yeah,
something.
Bill was an actual hillbilly.
Yeah.
And he actually had a single mother, and like this idea that Bill Clinton was worldly or something, and she was from the suburbs of Chicago and grew up pretty affluent.
should have been the other way
you know?
around.
Well, but
yeah,
she didn't have a heavy Southern accent. So
Yeah,
we'll get to that. Not
We'll
yet.
get to that.
Will, do you, as a self-proclaimed bad boy, do you have anything to say about that characterization?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, there are good women who fall in love with, bad guys, but like, obviously they can't help themselves, but like, maybe they should because, we're dangerous.
You're a good boy. You're a good boy.
They're heartbreakers out there. Despite how
Slick
intelligent,
Willie over here.
despite how intelligent and charismatic they may be, I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's bad news. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes
You're gonna get hurt.
Sometimes you should settle maybe for like the quieter, shy, nicer guys,
if you're
I'm holding my tongue. You opened it up. You opened it. You left it right there, and I'm sidestepping it.
if he seems perfect, but then you hear him say rather instead of rather, you got
Oh,
a dangerous,
yeah.
boy.
oh, come on now.
Run away, ladies.
We're here to talk about Hillary Clinton, not Will Menica. Then we cut back to the present, and we get an amazing behind-the-scenes look at Kate McKinnon and Hillary Clinton
Oh, my
practicing to
God.
go on SNL. That is one. I think this was actually one of the most like in the mouth of madness, George C. Scott and
real
hardcore
brutal,
moments.
real dark.
Turn it off! Yeah, turn it off!
Yeah.
Where it's just Kate McKinnon's like, "You're so fucking good, Hillary."
Oh,
like,
she's just kissing
and
her
they're
ass,
just- they're just-
simpering.
they're just doing like they're throwing bits back and
Well,
forth.
they're
so
they're
she's
like rehearsing in the dressing room,
Yeah.
and Hillary does one line. They're riffing about Donald Trump, and again, this is scripted. They're
It's not even riffing; it's just script. They're
Yeah,
just
that's-
reading.
yeah.
reading the lines.
But what was the line?
She says,
Donald Trump? Is he the one that's like, you're all losers?
That is him indeed. Oh fuck, that's good. Thank you for saving the world.
Kate McKinnon
And Kate
has
McKinnon is like hands in her face,
hysterically
doubled
laughing.
over in
Yeah.
fake
she's
laughter.
like,
It's
that's
uncomfortable to
fucking
watch.
so good. That's so good. I've never heard something that funny.
Well,
And
and
it's
luckily
like,
they
oh.
still have Kate McKinnon on this pretending
And also,
female politicians are funny.
luckily,
beats.
Kate McKinnon, she definitely, did not appear in protest on that episode of SNL that Donald Trump hosted that very summer.
Weird.
No, I had not seen.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. No, she did. She was.
I'm
definitely
pretty
did.
sure that Kate McKinnon has not feigned enthusiasm that hard since she dated Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss. She dated Barry
Folks.
Weiss.
Folks,
She
you catch
had to
that
feign
one?
her enthusiasm.
Then we get to the moment that I think, like, even if you haven't watched this, you probably already read
And don't, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah.
or
Yeah, don't.
or
That's-
seen. Yeah,
this is
like
a
no, we're doing this for
This
you.
is a cautionary tale.
We're doing this for you.
He's
so
really
don't
boring.
have
Brendan
to
and I
watch it.
elected to do this.
I had lunch with Will, and then I made the extremely dumb decision to come over.
Well,
and
I'm
You're
just,
in it
I'm just
now,
working.
motherfucker.
I'm just working from home, and we'll do anything not to work. So here I am.
this was a bad idea.
You just live here.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm speaking, of course, about the moment where Hillary addresses Bernard Sanders.
Oh yeah. Speaking
And
of bad
this is where
bad
she
men
just
coming
said-
onto the scene.
This is where she says, as you read the quote, nobody liked him. He got nothing done. He just was unemployed until he was 40 and then got elected to something or
She
whatever.
says he's a career
a
politician.
career politician.
It's
It's like,
not a bad Hillary you do.
who just got elected to something. When it's just like, well, yeah, mayor of Burlington, then Congress, then senator as this open socialist in America. Yeah, that little thing.
But he
did
wasn't
in
a lawyer.
politics. Yeah.
He wasn't a lawyer, or that's it. That's
Yeah,
all
and
she
he
was
didn't go to
before.
law
Yeah.
school.
And
or
I
whatever.
also have to sort of bring up the fact that when people talk about like how hard Hillary worked to get to where she was,
So
and how she deserved this political career because she did what so many other hardworking women did before her, which is marry a more successful man. But like literally, that is why she has her career. I mean, she would have been just like what a corporate lawyer
Yeah.
otherwise.
He was
another
he
lawyer.
was a successful politician, and
'Cause
then
she
she got her
She
shot.
just got in the draft of an incredible talent. Like
The
a
guy who
highly
became a
charismatic guy.
two-term Democratic
Yeah.
president.
Yes.
Whereas, like, I'm sorry, Bernie Sanders' political career way more impressive than yours.
Absolutely.
Way
Clawed
more.
his way
From
up.
fucking
Yeah.
like long. He was like a third party like Trotskyist weirdo in the 70s, running the Liberty Union Party.
Excuse me. Okay, but like, what bills has he passed? Show me the bills he's passed.
Hillary's record as senator, the only piece of legislation she ever got passed was a piece of legislation about violence in video games.
Oh my
That was
God.
her sterling fucking
Did she
resume.
say it was good?
No, she was against.
She wanted more of it.
wanted more.
and everyone disagreed.
Her big thing that she quarterbacked when she was first lady was healthcare reform, which she ate shit at.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
We'll
and it
get
was
to
also
that.
garbage.
Yeah,
Like
it was
her
a bad
plan was
plan.
garbage.
We'll get to
We'll
that.
get to that. Then we see Robbie Mook show up for the first time, who's from Vermont.
Good to see him.
And he says, I was the one who told Hillary, do not underestimate Bernie Sanders. I know he seems like this old weirdo ranting about whatever, but I mean, he's been saying the same stuff for 20 years. Ha, ha, ha.
Boring.
Yeah, imagine how stupid that would be if you had a consistent
Move
belief. in
on,
saying,
dude.
Exactly. And here's an interesting thing. Then they show more of this like on the campaign trail footage of her speaking at, I think, SUNY Purchase in New York. And like to illustrate, like this is where they're beginning to inject the narrative about like the vitriol on the left that she had to face from Bernie Sanders.
God.
And they show a group of young college students yelling at her, yelling, "Feel the burn" at her. All of the people yelling at her were young women.
Yes.
And later on, they show her getting grilled at public events by people who are saying, according to Huffington Post, you've taken $150,000 from fossil fuel industry. Like, are you going to give that back?
also,
Are
will you,
go-
will you ban fracking?
Will you stand up to ban fracking? Everyone drilling her on this shit were young women.
probably not even voting age women.
They
Yeah.
look like
like
teenage,
teens.
to, like
I'm
early
sure,
college
I'm
age
sure
women.
they scavenged for clips that were men, and there just weren't
couldn't
any.
find
and
any.
they almost probably thought about reshooting the footage to like just make it look like it was men and just do it like a dramatic reenactment.
She's
but they
giving
couldn't.
she's giving us a speech at an event, and then some hecklers do it, and they chant, "She wins, we lose." You cannot mistake the people yelling at you. You even see them do it, or once again, young women yelling this at her.
Well, and she has no adequate response to this, which is why whenever
She just kicked them out.
well, yeah, well, and
She's
more,
like, guess what? You're going now.
But it's
and
sad.
more broadly, it's like that's why whenever they try and like answer that disconnect, they end up saying awkward shit like, "Well, they're doing socialism for the boys."
Yeah,
or,
it's sad that they've been suckered in by this.
Yeah,
by this clear
drawn in by
old
these
man.
online harassers.
And and
Yeah,
then
well,
she's walking down a hallway, and this is more of like the behind the scenes campaign footage, It's,
Quote, unquote,
yeah,
candid.
really
Insanely
unscripted.
staged.
It's
Yeah,
super
Well,
awkward.
this is at least not impeccably lit, so it's at least slightly more authentic.
but they're
feeling
like talking to this guy Jake Sullivan as they walk down the hallway,
like a policy advisor.
and he's saying, there's an underlying vitriol to the Sanders supporters, and it's just like and they go, this is a strange election. It's a strange one, yeah. And he goes, there's just, where does all this discouragement and anger come from? We didn't face that before. And then he says, it's not like 2008. And then the phrase that they use here is very telling. Her advisor says, in 2008, people were buying a story about optimism. And she goes, that's such a good point. It's not like that now.
Yeah,
they
I
were
wonder
buying a story about
why.
optimism.
I wonder why they don't buy that anymore.
Yeah.
Because
Why
what
doesn't
they were
our-
selling was fraud. Was
horse
totally
shit.
fake.
Why isn't the lie we're telling a second time being believed?
That's like, I
Why
don't
aren't they
understand.
eating the slop just as
Yeah.
readily?
Yeah, it's like I said to come over and eat a delicious steak, and then I gave you a pile of dog shit, and now I'm inviting you to dinner, and you don't want to come over. I don't understand.
And like,
Came
we
over
just have to
last
deal with this.
I've done that with Matt, inviting him over to dinner dozens of times.
Matt-
He keeps
One
coming.
of these
though.
days, I'm going to stop.
Robbie Mook says about this issue, and they're intercutting back and forth between like Bernie Sanders talking about like, yeah, I believe
Free
in free
college.
college.
Yeah.
Also, him giving her the what for during the debate.
About
Wall
her
Street.
speeches
Gave her
to
the
Wall
what
Street,
for?
and like, Wall Street has been some of your biggest campaign contributors. You may think they're dumb and they don't know what they're buying. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think they know what they're getting when
Yeah.
they give you all this money.
Good line.
Right? And then she's like, oh, I'm not going to listen to you and impinge my integrity or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And if anything, like, this just underscores that Bernie should have been a lot more fucking nasty
Yeah.
to her. They should have been
No,
a lot
no,
more
no,
hard
no,
to
no,
her.
no, no. Literally, when he first ran, this was an attempt. He didn't think he could win up until the very end, and it was an attempt at a realignment campaign. So him just coming in and that's what he did was
Just trying
a
to get the
realignment campaign that
messages
turned
out
into
there,
a real
yeah.
campaign.
Well, then
Yeah.
it's a lesson
So
for
just
what
going
then it's a
out,
lesson
do
for
it, yeah.
now
Now
one-on-one
he
with Joe
should.
Biden.
Needs to be
Yeah.
Now
way
he
meaner.
should
Now
because
he
this
needs
is
to go
this
full
is the
Joe
real
Biden.
this is the real thing.
I think to jump back into current moment, I actually think that speech he gave. Did you watch the one he gave a couple days ago where he was just questioning Joe relentlessly about like, well, what are you going to do about healthcare? What are you going to do about this? Like, I actually thought that
he's
was
gonna-
like
he's
pretty
gonna go
good and
Joker.
effective. And
Got to
like,
do it in the room with him though.
well, yeah, it
Yeah.
makes me
Gotta-
excited for the
gotta go
debate.
Joker.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
And a
Here's
lot,
hoping.
and, by
Ask
the way,
him, just ask him 3 questions in a row.
Yeah, really.
What did you have for breakfast this morning? How did you get here? What is your son's middle
and by the way,
name?
like
really.
I saw some people saying like, it's actually like sort of a strange strategic move of Bernie to give Biden like just basically a preview of everything he's going to throw at him on Sunday.
That
to which
doesn't
I
mean
say,
he's going to.
to which I say, Biden's people must know that these questions are coming, and even if he does call his shot, point to the right field bleachers or whatever. It's not like Joe Biden has any fucking answers to these questions that he can actually give.
His answer to all of those questions, what are you going to do about it, is a resounding nothing.
No,
well,
it's like
and
it's like a
moreover, it's not like even if they did prep him, he's going to remember.
Exactly.
It's like a boxer stepping, before like for the pre-fight press conference, being like, "Look, when we get in that ring, I'm going to work your body until you can't breathe, and then I'm going upstairs until I knock you the fuck out. I'll tell you I'm going to do it, but you're still not going to stop me when
Right.
those punches start flying."
Ooh, you got me all excited.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. Okay. There's another quote from Robbie Mook here that I think is amazing.
Oh, we're back down.
He talks about
completely.
he
Yeah, we're
says-
back in the mud.
Speaking about like this free college issue, he says her greatest strength as a politician is just knowing everything about the policy back to front and like, knowing every like lever of bureaucracy, blah blah blah. That's her superpower, but it's also her greatest weakness. And then she
She's
says of
just
this,
Is this the
so
Green Lantern
smart.
theory
He
of power?
cares too much.
and then this is her answer for why. She was like, people would say to me all the time, why don't you just go out and say free college? The people seem to like to hear that. And like, I just couldn't do that because I like lying to people about what they can.
Yes.
And, I like to be realistic about what we can have.
This-
So no, she goes, I suffer. It's playing to their emotions to say free college. And she says, quote, I suffer from a responsibility gene.
Yep.
Oh. I actually thought this was one of the better and therefore totally unintentional cuts in this documentary so far. It goes from her, I think she's either it's a clip of Bernie or it's someone talking about Bernie like, oh, let's give people free college. And then it cuts to her at a campaign event and someone asks like, well, why can you do that? Or like, what are you going to do about free college? And she's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is like, I'm gonna make this debt-free plan. It's like the Kamala Harris, like 3 levels of like, if you're a Pell Grant recipient and you open a business, she's talking about like, if you're I'm
it was
gonna make you
debt-free
debt-free
tuition.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense because she's like, but then you can refinance the
Refinance it.
debt.
Yes, and she's
then she
also
used the word
and she's
debt.
also talking about affordability, which is like, no, just
Yeah.
give it to people for free.
Which is whether it's healthcare or education.
Yes.
There's that word affordable.
But
once again-
that juxtaposition was incredible.
But once
I
again,
thought.
it was okay. Here's a flaw. Not only like as a campaigning, say it and then break the promise, but she didn't even do that. It's that she was too smart. She wanted to get into that policy. She loves that policy, and she's also too realistic and doesn't want to let people down.
It's not that she's too smart. It's that
Well, you
she's-
did say how she
she's
loves
not,
policy
Well, yeah,
so
but she's
much.
not like clever or canny enough, or she has too much integrity to just lie to
Both of
voters,
those things,
You know,
yes.
like
She suffers from a responsibility gene.
Yep.
yeah.
Same dude.
Okay, then we go back in time with Bill Clinton being elected to the youngest governor in American history at 32, which is kind of astonishing, becomes the Democratic governor of Arkansas.
was the AOC
And he's
at
just
this
like, yeah.
Indeed.
She's going to be the Bill Clinton of her time.
Slam.
He comes in and he's just like, Arkansas, thank you so much. We're going to execute all the blacks. And then the ones we don't, we're going to make work at the governor's mansion, you know? So this is a moment that, like, the as far as her story goes, about how she was going to be always going to be a new kind of first lady. This is in Arkansas. This is the South. She keeps her maiden name.
You're very chill right
Yeah,
now.
you're chill as fuck.
This
If
isn't
you were any more
Jokerfication
chill,
to
you'd
me,
be on
but
the floor.
That is just entirely laid out.
It's the serenity that comes with being fully Joker.
okay, I guess.
I'm glad you're comfortable.
Yeah,
You're
it's
Make yourself at home.
You
Yeah.
are
second only to
liquefying.
the piece of the grave is the piece of the Jokerfied.
Okay.
So this is all about, she kept her maiden name. She didn't change her name. Of course, they didn't have a child at that time. She was not going to be, for the conventions of the South. She was like considered a very radical departure from, the role of the wife of a politician.
Sure.
And then, of course, Bill loses in 1980 or 82, I think. He loses the governorship. And then, like, he comes back and wins it again.
Yeah.
He wins it a second time. And that was, like, his real rise to power. And it talks about how she self-consciously sort of changes her image to fit that campaign in a way. She takes off the big Coke bottle, big giant, like, Gloria Steinem glasses.
Which were cool.
She starts
It was the
dressing.
best she looked was if she had the giant
as
glasses.
a large head person, we need large glasses to balance out the large head.
And, she was like, I'm not going to be the reason he loses this campaign.
Right.
She puts in the contacts, takes off the big glasses. She starts dressing more conservatively, and also had Chelsea by that point. So she filled the role of wife and mother.
Which,
Right?
by the way, she made that sound like a makeover scene that she, endured to support her husband and stand by her man. No, it just became the 80s. And she just wasn't dressing like it was 1972 anymore. Everyone had an update. Everyone had a wardrobe
There's a
change.
sleight of hand where it's like any change she is making to her fashion or her appearance was like a radical, either a radical move or a self-sacrifice. When it's just like fashion change in general.
She's like, no, everyone
Yeah.
was getting
people
perms,
weren't
so
wearing
she got a
glasses
perm.
like that. and
Everything
hippie
she
shit.
does
Well, and also-
is brave and radical because she did it.
Well, and
That's what
it's
makes
like
it that
it's
way.
uniquely feminist and
So this gets us to the end of episode 1. And I gotta say, don't watch this documentary. However, if you want to watch one thing from this series, I would recommend fast forwarding to the very end of the first episode, because this is all talking about how she sort of changed her image. Bill got elected after losing an election. Then he became that was his second shot at Arkansas governor. That's when his career really took off, right? It shows clips of her speaking in this era, and she affects again from the
By this
suburbs
era,
of
you mean
Chicago.
then. You mean then, not now.
in the
Yeah.
late 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
She, again, from the suburbs of Illinois, now the first lady of Arkansas. There are several clips of her at the very end of episode 1 affecting the most cracker-ass Southern accent I've ever heard.
Would you run for office, Hillary? I don't think so, Pat. I love being involved in politics, and I love what we can do to try to help people. But I don't see the possibility myself of running for office, but I want to stay involved and work as hard as I can.
You're not going to say never, though, are you?
I never say never.
I didn't think so. But we'll be back.
She
in a minute
literally
to find out.
sounds like Mick Jagger in The Girl with Faraway Eyes.
I actually
where
disagree
she's like,
entirely.
I listen to the gospel
No, 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 no.
radio station.
I disagree entirely.
Okay.
What?
I think she fucking nailed it.
Oh, she thought she did a good accent.
Yeah. No, I think she fucking nailed it.
Well-
It's specifically Arkansas too.
Okay.
Like because that's its own weird southern dialect. And the leaning on the eyes, she didn't fall into, well, I'm from Arkansas.
Sure.
Like I think she fucking has been
But you're-
listening
but
to
you're
her
not- you're
terrible
not-
husband.
Yeah.
It was subtle enough that it was like, this is practice.
Yeah.
That didn't make it
she's,
good.
She's trying it
But
out.
it was
She's
like a
trying it out.
light enough
She's,
hand that you were
she's
like,
a
you've been
talented
taking
Miss,
voice lessons or
Hillary.
something.
I think she, I think she did a good job faking that accent.
Right.
It was a light touch.
It was.
She didn't go all in.
People
because-
often
okay.
overact.
That'd be too challenging.
Yeah.
As subtly tuned to the state
It
that
is
she was
insane.
in. It is
insane.
insane because we all know that's not the way she talks.
Why are you doing that? We
Yeah.
know how you talk. We know how
And you, as a
talk.
viewer, have been watching her in footage for the entire hour.
So it's so obvious.
So then you're like, what?
you're like,
What
we
happened?
played it back. We were like, wait.
Yeah, we did watch it twice.
And it was worth it.
It was deranged.
And you see where guys like Pete Buttigieg get their game from.
Oh, yeah.
Where like they just start talking like whatever audience they're speaking to.
Focus group is
Whether
name.
like Obama, and when you remember when Pete Buttigieg spoke on behalf of Biden in Texas recently, he started talking like a fucking Texas fucking cowboy. It was
Yeah,
insane.
he like imprints on whatever. Yeah.
Okay, you feeling good, audience? You feeling
Nope.
good, listeners? No.
Are you feeling Jokerfied?
Oh
is
yes.
the real question.
Do
That's
you
a different
feel?
question.
Can we rush through the second one?
Do you
It's-
feel a smile?
Do you feel a smile?
Do you
start to
feel
creep-
like laughing?
I'm not
Are you starting
enjoying
to
my
find-
Jokerfication
Are you starting
process.
to find crime humorous?
I'm feeling like a bunch of city toughs stole my arrow sign and are beating me to death with it in an alleyway. That's
oh
how
no.
I feel.
Episode 2, becoming a lady.
Yep. Ironic.
Becoming a
I
lady.
get it.
I learned a lot from this one personally as a lady. As a
becoming a lady.
lady.
Begins with her getting her makeup put on, and then it sets up this whole thing about how, this is where she talks about how Bernie. Sorry, this is the moment where she really talks about how nobody likes Bernie. Blah blah blah. It's all.
She was
baloney.
really obsessed. I mean, like Bernie actually featured very heavily in this.
Yeah.
There was
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
more
No,
And
she
interest.
I
hates
we're
it
you
more
know,
than
I think there's
anything.
gonna be a lot more of that.
Yeah.
They have behind the scenes footage of them at one of their debates where Bernie and then Chuck Todd drill her to the wall about the Goldman Sachs speaking fees, and you can see her campaign watching the debate in the campaign room, just wincing.
Oh,
You can see their
no.
stomachs getting turned into knots over this.
Yep.
And one of her advisors even says, "Look, there's going to be like some actual good-faced journalists who are going to ask the question." Why are you getting paid $200,000 to give an hour speech? Isn't it reasonable to if in a presidential election to just be like, well, what did you tell them? What was in those speeches?
Well, and she totally whiffs the response, right? She's just
She
like,
goes, "I'll look into
she's
it."
like, I'll look into it. And
Chuck
yeah,
Todd
they
asked
all,
her-
you can see them all like they're clench up.
Yeah, you can see all their assholes just like
which is actually-
reverse tool up.
If
like,
anyone has
pull up
seen
into
that woman,
themselves.
by the
That's
way,
visceral.
who if anyone's seen that woman
Literally.
who said that was a good point,
Deals
then
with the
please,
viscera.
Yeah.
report to the police.
Yeah. All of her behind the scenes team people are very apple dumpling gang or whatever. Like it's really embarrassing.
I hope they're okay. I hope they did.
Well, you
do
see
a
Podesta a
Jonestown.
lot. You see a lot of like just Slender Man in the
Yeah.
background, like
There's
Podesta's.
many
God, every
Slenderman.
time
I really
There
hope
are
we're
a
going
lot
to
of
get a
gross
Podesta
scenes.
sit down before this thing is over.
They do
Oh, he was
interview-
in one scene as a
He
sit
does,
down.
and they
He
interview
can't
him.
sit down. It's
and
like he's like a horse. He's like a horse. He
just
sleeps
leans
standing
up
up.
against a wall.
He's got that thing where he just kind of laughs at the end of every sentence.
He's
Just a
Jokerfied. It sounds
creep.
like.
Just
Sounds
a
like
creepy lizard.
Yeah,
man.
Matt, what do you have to say about that?
What if
John
Podesta's
Podesta's
Jokerfied?
He's
Jokerfied.
Jokerfied. He's laughing at the end of every sentence.
He's
more of a Riddler.
John Podesta is not the Joker.
the Riddler.
John
Only you're
Podesta
the Joker.
Not that twisted.
Then we see, going into the first voting, the Iowa caucus, which she for some reason she won by 0.1%.
Yeah.
And again, talking about current events, certainly now we've experienced the Iowa caucus this time around.
With the
Holy
and
shit!
You know what's funny?
At
They were
close
able to get
range.
that the night of. They were able to announce her the winner the night of. Even
By
with
that margin.
with that margin, they
No-
announced that
No
night
talk
that
about
she won.
election integrity.
Yeah.
And
they did not release the actual vote totals.
There's
by the
scenes of her, like all the Bill and like the brain trust. They're all sitting around in the hotel room, and Hillary comes in. They're like, "Wow, this is a nail biter, isn't it?"
Yeah.
And they're all just being like, "Oh, it's pretty close, aren't we?"
All the
Don't you
boys are
think?"
playing cards
Yeah,
very
you know?
convincingly.
And at one point, one person says to her, "Look, it's at point. You have a 0.2% lead now. It may shrink to a 0.1% lead, but we're all very confident." Which leads to the question, why? Why were they all so serenely confident
that's
in
a
this
very,
moment?
very, very small margin.
Where Hillary comes in, this is the documentary footage, and she's just like, "Okay, everybody, it's a close race. What are we all going to do about it?" And then they're like, "Cut." And then they're like, "Okay, yeah, what are you doing to steal this shit?"
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, looking back on it, then at the moment we should have known it, but certainly looking back on it now,
Oh, yes.
I am 1,000% sure they stole that shit for her in
yeah.
2016.
Oh, yeah.
1,000,000% positive that they stole that
it's
shit.
a fact.
When she says, "What are we going to do about it?" you can almost hear them powering up the heart attack gun to hit Bernard.
Well, because it's also this footage enhances everything you suspect, even though it is fake and staged.
and is not intended for that.
They're so psychotic, which is what I've always respected. Felix has talked about this, about the Hillary people. They're not like the Obama people who are so, focus grouped and they're all named John, and it's like they're indistinguishable and they're very
They're clone
mellow.
robots.
It's that the Hillary people are psychos. And so even when they're trying to dupe you, they tip their hand. And you can tell that they're like, their faces say, "We got to steal this thing right fucking now."
And
though
like
they're-
her defenses of the speeches on like in the interviews are hilarious. She
Completely
says,
unconvincing.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I gave speeches to everyone. I gave speeches to the camping association.
It's like, yeah, people weren't interested in those
For
ones.
$200,000?
Yeah, did the camping association
First
pay
of all,
200
if
grand?
you think Goldman Sachs is dangerous, the
Yeah.
camping association,
They play hardball.
They are crooks.
That's why Bernie didn't ask.
Well, but
about
I
that.
thought it was very telling, like that watching
Even he has a
in
lot.
one sitting her emails like response and her response to the Wall Street speeches thing. Like she does this thing which is like, I've dealt with all this scrutiny my entire life, much of which has been unfair, and I just decided on this one issue, like enough is enough, and like this ask in particular
Right.
is where I'm drawing the line, and
Yeah.
it's unfair, and so stop.
And
Like,
that's every ask.
Yes, like this is my red line about like, haven't you people said enough? And yeah, it just turns out to be like every ask.
What Peter Baker of the New York Times says of this very cannily is he's like, this always seemed like, out of line or ludicrous for Hillary. Like, how could you imply that I'm corrupt? I know that I am an ethical and moral person. So if I've chosen to do something, it's because I've considered
Yep.
the ethical ramifications of it and decided it was okay. So anyone else questioning that or implying I'm corrupt for taking all of this money, you can... That is the thing about these paid speeches. With like Goldman Sachs, they knew she was going to run for president. They're not paying you 200 grand to give an hour speech. They're paying you 200 grand because it's a campaign contribution that doesn't have to be registered as such.
Also, it cuts to her, and she's like, "This is how I made, a little bit of money when I was."
yeah,
a little bit of
that's right.
scratch.
Money after being Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Walking around money.
I mean, yeah.
there were some hard times.
Just $250,000, for a speech.
here and there. Like,
What's the big-
can a girl make a living?
What's the big
Can I
deal?
live? Can I eat out here? Like,
You just wanted me to fucking starve, did you?
I suppose you want me to go on welfare, or I guess that would be harder now because of the things my husband did. During, his,
Yeah.
Her net worth was
presidency.
$45 million.
Yeah.
Well, it also
Oh
made
my
me think,
God,
to get
so
a little
much money.
existential, it was like, well, all of the people around her have bought into this notion that like because she's moral and ethically upstanding, like if she does it, it can therefore not be unethical
Exactly.
or
When
immoral.
When Hillary does it, it's not
And-
illegal.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
And
It's
when
like
she-
if the president does it, it's
Yeah.
not illegal.
And when she talks about like, or the people like the Hillary Torgos, they're just like, just to imply that someone's corrupt just because they took all this money is ludicrous.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you are corrupt. This is manifestly on its.
But some of them say like, "I knew it was going to be a media issue." It's always like bad optics.
Yes.
It's never like they're
Yep.
actually admitting.
It's
that
never
they've
the
never done anything
substance
wrong.
of the issue,
It's just some
yeah.
things are going to get misconstrued on
Yeah.
purpose by bad faith media people.
Correct.
She has the attitude towards the media. It's exactly the same as fucking Trump does.
Yep.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, like, people will say, "Oh, Bernie also hates the media." It's like, yeah, but Bernie recognizes the media as his enemy because it represents capitalist interests.
Because they
These
are the
people
enemy.
have personalized, neurotic obsessions with media criticism.
Yeah.
It's just like they're out to get me for just because of me, because they just hate me just so much.
Yeah.
Then we go back in time to Bill's running for the White House for the first time in 1992. Bill says of this, I think, in the present being interviewed. He
Correct.
says, in 1992, I ran on, quote, positive populism.
Yes.
As a contrast with Bernie Sanders and what's going on now, which is that's negative.
And therefore
populism.
Trump, like Trump
Yeah,
and Sanders,
yeah, exactly.
Same
they
stuff.
both do the negative populism.
He also says, I don't know if you have this letter, but he also says that HW called him
Yes,
up.
I have this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So Bill relates a story about how he had someone who was in the George H.W. Bush White House. And this was like after the Gulf War, and everyone thought he was like going to roll into re-election, but they were like, this is our moment. The economy's bad. He's vulnerable. And that was a smart choice on their part. The Republicans in the Bush campaign and White House like knew that Bill Clinton was like going to be a threat, or like he could have run against them. They called him and like through back channels basically said, look, wait till 1996. That's your moment. Like if you run now, like they'll destroy you. You've got all these vulnerabilities. Like it's not going to happen for you, but just wait till 96. Like that's your shot at it. And I think smartly, they realized that they were showing their whole hand there because like they were showing how afraid they were. And Hillary said to Bill of this like veiled threat of like, if you run, we're going to throw everything we have at you. And what she said to him was, if you can be bullied out of running for president, you don't deserve to be president. To which I say, Elizabeth Warren campaign, are you listening? Everyone in the Democratic Party currently today, this is supposed to be your hero. This is your prince. That's pretty good fucking advice.
But also, the
However,
fact that
though, like I thought it was interesting that it wasn't a veiled threat. It was an open threat.
here's a little thing I learned in CIA.
Yeah. And it's like kind of interesting because you know that they're basically breaking omerta by admitting that is how the Democratic Party operates behind closed doors.
both parties, and that they certainly have made that call. to other
certainly.
people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So here we get into a moment that was maybe my favorite of the 2+ hours that we watched in this. 1992
Hard to pick
election.
one favorite.
All of the slime that's going to be thrown at Bill Clinton. Of course, they're talking about his lengthy record of infidelities, Jennifer Flowers, all of the things that, let's say, if you covered Arkansas politics at any level, you basically knew about. You knew about Bill's reputation.
But not Juanita Broaddrick.
As soon as they bring this up in the interview one-on-one format, Hillary says, in the midst of a 4-hour documentary miniseries called Hillary, about the unvarnished truth about herself and her life, I'm not going to talk about that because I'm a very private person.
Nice.
Well, and we also knew in that moment, like they showed footage of the Jennifer Flowers presser, but I would bet an arm that they didn't on this episode, and I don't think they will for the rest of it. They won't even say the name Juanita Broaddrick.
No, because that's outside of the acceptable boundary of that history.
Well, and all the people in Hillary world think she's a fraud.
They might see we might see footage of her when Trump literally brought all of them into the debate that one time, which was honestly an amazing move.
Yeah, it was. That was alpha
But I'm
shit.
sure the documentary won't reflect that. But yeah, this entire tell-all has been set up, and then when there's a slight bit of pressure toward talking about uncomfortable things, she goes, "Well, look, I mean, what is this? Am I getting grilled here?
Yeah.
It's
what's
only
the
a
problem?"
4-hour personal bucket biography.
She picks and chooses the
Yes.
the
Terms of engagement.
Yes, exactly.
It's parody.
You know, I'm gonna skip through a lot of this shit because like it's basically like they set up this thing about how like Hillary as first lady was a radical moment. This was a time when a lot of women were coming in politics, and similar to the
You're
civil
the
rights,
one.
Vietnam
a thing
stuff.
that neither Catherine nor I had ever heard about is people who write about politics.
No, now actually this is the year of the woman. I've decided.
I feel like we
Hey,
keep
for me,
going.
every year's
Still
the year of
waiting.
the woman.
Still waiting.
Thank you, Brendan.
Yeah.
No worries.
I will say that they to illustrate this point about You're the Woman, they use archival footage of a bizarre Liza Minnelli musical number from
Delightful.
the
Amazing.
Oscars
Delightful.
It was amazing.
but she
called
is-
Ladies' Day.
Yeah,
She
I mean,
does
first,
sing about Hillary.
yeah, she says she asks
okay.
Hillary at the end. Yeah.
This is part of an Oscars broadcast.
It was
Still
a huge
very
because
bizarre.
well, I mean, she had friends in Hollywood, as we know.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, okay, then it cuts to New Hampshire 2016. And this is about like, okay, they knew they were going to lose New Hampshire, and it's just so hard to campaign when you know you're going to lose. And I think one of the Torgos says, you know, like this was tough for her. This was a really tough moment, but you know what? She does so well as the underdog. And you know, like we wanted, like Hillary, like would be even better if she was running scared a little bit. And then I just, of course, thought, I may not be Paul Walker, but I'm running scared. Sorry, just a little joke for the running scared fans out there in the Chapo universe.
Where are you?
Yeah, come on.
throw up a hand.
Bill and Hillary are the couple who kidnapped the kid.
Yes. Then, of course, they get to South Carolina, just like it is now. It's the big firewall for the right
graveyard
wing
of
of the
American
Democratic Party.
socialism.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
Then we get Joe Klein talking about Bill and Hillary Clinton in the White House for the first time. And
Joe
says,
Klein, for people who don't know, maybe journalist, Time
he's a
Magazine.
big Time Magazine journalist, and also
wrote Primary Colors.
Yeah, no, he says of Bill and Hillary Clinton in the White House, he says, this is the first president that I covered who wasn't dad. They were one of us. We were the ones who marched against the war. We were going to knock down the establishment. I'll just note that Joe Klein came out very, like, he was attacked the anti-Iraq war movement quite stridently.
What
And
a
also,
shot.
in this documentary, they allied the massive fact that he used his role covering the Bill Clinton run for White House to write a thinly veiled fictional account of it anonymously called Primary Colors that dealt heavily with not just Bill Clinton's infidelities, but like his secret children out there as well.
Also,
it was very salacious.
He's a hard dog to keep on the porch.
Also, when he says we when he says we were the ones who marched, again, you've seen the entirety of the documentary so far is established. Hillary did not march.
Nobody marched. I guarantee you, Joe fucking Klein didn't
Joe
march either.
Klein probably didn't march, and Bill Clinton, you can call him a draft dodger or whatever. I mean, God bless him, whatever. But he wasn't like an activist against the Vietnam
no
War.
more than
so that's
Donald
all,
Trump was.
That's all horseshit.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we get the account of Hillary's role in the disastrous Clinton healthcare plan, the HMO.
Really knocked that one out of the park.
Again, like they were like, Bill Clinton talks about how, like, Lyndon Johnson, who had the biggest Democratic majority in history, even he didn't try to get universal coverage. But, damn it, we were going to do it. And it must be stressed once again what an awful fucking plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Hillary Care shit, which is just all about HMOs.
Shit. Yep.
And like managed competition
Yep.
and like making sure that everyone has guaranteed universal affordable health care.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the
Access to affordable care.
this is the beginning of every Democratic pivot to the right about healthcare under the guise of universal coverage.
Yeah.
But it was anything but, and of course it was a disaster that was just went over like a fucking lead balloon.
And
And you can blame it on the moral majority in
Yeah.
Congress or whatever, but it was a shitty plan to begin with. It was not anything close to approaching what we think of as what should be universal healthcare. We get to see David Brock talk
Ooh,
on camera.
Looking like fucking Exeter from fucking This Island Earth.
an
Then-
ancient one.
And then we get, of course, the stuff about the Vince Foster suicide
Yeah.
and
He was just
Whitewater.
feeling very sad that day. The last words he said to me were, "Hillary, I don't blame you for my death in any way. I'm not responsible. You're not responsible, I mean."
Well, and
It's really weird. They don't talk to anybody that's around his life either.
No.
The only people they talk to about him
because
are Bill and
because
Hillary.
I bet those people don't want anything to
Yeah.
fucking do
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Clintons
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
I have no
that's-
comment. I have no comment.
Well, that's also supposed to be a humanizing moment because there's a line where she's like, I couldn't imagine, like, I couldn't have been more distraught or sad already. And
Right.
then they started to politicize it.
Yeah.
And, they talk about how, like, she began to be, because she was sort of front and center, she began to be attacked in a way that was heretofore unknown for first ladies. But again, she was the first lady to have an office in the West Wing, which I got to say is a little weird considering she's not officially been appointed, approved by Congress,
Yeah, kinda
and nobody voted for her either.
Yeah.
So it's a little odd to be given that level of authority based on your...
Also, very sort of Southern tradition. Like there used to be, like
Who's George
governors.
George Wallace's wife?
Lurleen.
Yeah,
yeah,
Lurleen.
like governors and all of these Southern politicians used to, when they, served their term limits, they would just run their wives.
Mon Pa Ferguson in Texas.
It was like a serious thing. So there's like this weirdly large number of female elected officials on the books in the
And
South.
they talk about the famous
Well-
incident in which she said, like, I'm not going to be baking cookies or anything, or like, I'm not going to be a stay-at-home
Oh,
mom. That was
God.
like, really soured a lot of women's opinions on her because it sounded like she was,
But-
talking down.
Yeah.
to,
Which she was.
which she
She
was. But
was.
here's the thing, though, Amber. You go, yeah.
Yeah. So like everyone brings that up and they think everyone just got mad at her for making this snide little comment about staying home and baking cookies. What they don't mention is the fact that she did that in defending herself against just gross corruption charges.
That her law firm, while her husband was governor, was doing all kinds of business with the state. And again, like the emails, like Whitewater, you can sort of like, well, nothing ever came of that.
Again, it's
but like
just
there's all these red flags there that are just
using
sort of
this feminist thing too,
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
pattern of using like, well, it was because people were mad at me for girl things, and it's like, well, okay, women were mad at you first of all, and not necessarily conservative women either. They were like, that's kind of a shitty thing to say. And also, so that's not that the feminist thing is bullshit, but also like way to like just completely somehow smooth over the fact that actually this was you trying to defend yourself against a clear conflict of interest.
And just
because you
using-
could have been any other kind of lawyer.
weaponizing cynical feminism in the most nauseating way, because they're saying, hey, what's the deal with you, your law firm, having all this business with the state while you were working for them as first lady? And she goes, well, I wasn't going to stay home and bake cookies. So she's making a dichotomy where I'm either a crooked lawyer getting money illegally from my connections to the governor through graft and corruption, or I have to stay home. You're saying I have to stay home. You're saying I can't have a career in the 90s. It's like, well, no, you could be a lawyer who wasn't a fucking crook. How about
and people
that?
fucking resented
maybe you could have practiced the family law that you studied
Yeah,
when you were at
right.
Yale. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like, nope, I either have to be a maximal crook where I take every advantage at every time, or I have to stay home. Those are the two options afforded modern feminism. Fantastic.
I mean, that's basically all I have for like episode 2.
Well,
I
at the
mean,
end, the line that I remember is they say next time, we really want to talk about all the scandals and all the and she's like, it's again this faux candid taking off the mic moment where they're just chatting, but it's still rolling because obviously this is the staginess. And she gets up, and she goes, "Oh, I want to talk about all that. I must be the most investigated innocent person in the history of the world." It's
Yeah.
just like.
So you sound like Trump, lady.
Yeah.
That it
That's
is
just
Trump.
Trump.
Perfect
Very
phone call,
Trumpy.
folks. I made a perfect phone call.
Which I bet it's not fair. The fake news media and the Democrats.
And she ends up like talking about like how she became attacked as a controversial figure, but again, she was sort of a political figure as well. So, I mean, you can fault the Republicans for attacking her or inventing insane shit about her, but I mean, come on, like it's all in the game.
I more
guess.
resent the
Like,
Republicans for calling them both Marxists, which just sets back the entire idea of
Right.
what, because they were supposedly socialists who were like, have a secret line to Castro saying
And, like,
it's all going according to plan.
And she says of the failure of the healthcare thing, it's like looking back on it, like she was like, yeah, I shouldn't have been the forefront of that. Like I could have supported it, but it was a mistake to make me. And what she's really saying is like my big mistake is that I never really played the game
Yep.
with the media.
I cared
was
about
just-
policy and solutions too damn much, and not about the stupid butt kissing.
Yep.
And again,
I was too much of a real one.
I know, like her general point, like her the thesis statement for all this, as we said at the beginning, it's like when confronted with any of these like failures, scandals, controversies, or whatever, it is never that I made a moral or ethical failing or even
Never.
political miscalculation on my part.
Impossible.
It's just I kept it too damn real.
Yep.
It was when keeping it real goes wrong.
Yep.
And that must speak to I hate that phrase, speak to, but that must be a part of who this is for and why it's designed this way, because it's for someone to watch and someone who, if they're sympathetic at all, they're going to be maximally sympathetic. They immediately identify with Hillary, just like that woman in Iowa who said, I'm putting in Warren because I want to see myself up there.
Yeah.
And anything Hillary can't be allowed to have ever made a real error. She can only be allowed to have been wronged or not,
to
or
be
too
care
naive.
too much.
Yeah, and so by the end of it, none of these, we know what's going to happen in episode 3 and 4, of course, but none of these will be allowed to be failures, because the movie is hagiography that is supposed to solidify her legacy as someone who was failed, never someone who
Hillary cannot
failed
fail.
herself.
She can only be failed.
Correct.
Catherine has got to go. She's
I'm
going
getting,
to.
I'm getting the shepherd's hook.
Yeah, she's going to her weekly support group of women who are in relationships with dangerous bad boys.
Pumas.
I've actually I scored this private session with my Pilates instructor, so I simply couldn't pass that up. And actually,
And then you got
it's
the
an-
DJ lessons.
Well, yeah, it's the late night DJ lessons with my really good friend.
Did anyone see the Sarah Palin clip, by the way?
Oh, I saw that.
my
We
God!
live
that
in the
was
zone.
opening the
We
portal.
My
live in
God.
It was
absolute
Christopher
hell.
You
Guest,
guys,
just full.
DMT.
You know what?
I have to ask.
Do you watch The Masked Singer?
No, I
have
just
to
watched
ask.
that.
Do you think it's possible that we're already dead?
That was what I was
I
saying.
thought
I think
that
we
a lot.
are.
Yes,
well,
this
we're
is the
definitely already in
DMT.
hell.
I thought of this during Epstein, and it's only gotten more deeply convinced in my bones. we are in the DMT hallucination at the end of our lives.
Are you gonna? So we're
Here's the
gonna
thing
do
no one's
DMT?
talking about.
All
She
right,
was
bye.
pretty
Good. No,
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, Catherine.
Here's what I want to say about that clip.
She was
it
good.
was brain melting, and I was just yes, Amber. I was like,
She
I
could
think
spit.
I think we're already dead. She did. Baby's got back, but you know what?
She spit.
crushed
She
it.
did.
She
She's got-
fucking
she's got
crushed
bars.
it.
It's Baby Got Back. Sarah Palin's got bars. That's all there is to it.
She's got bars. Here's the funniest thing about that. That was on Fox. They were playing it out with the credits. It cut from that immediately to Trump's Oval Office address about a once in a century global
we're already
pandemic.
dead.
Beautiful.
We're absolutely. This is Into the Void.
Yep.
And
Enter the
Nero
Hillary.
played Baby Got Back.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, pretend that that you have an assistant pimpering your hair and putting on makeup, and you're just
Hey, hey
excited
guys!
to talk
I know that
about all of this.
Hey, let's talk. Hey, you guys, you want to talk casually in a room?
I've always been
not recording.
Okay.
Nothing's being recorded right now. Of course, we're just having a casual conversation.
I mean, I remember the election night show.
Hey,
That was just awful.
Oh my God! Yeah, we were so traumatized because we were so sure Hillary was going to win.
Okay.
Um,
I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Okay.
Okay. You
what a good
oh,
day it is today.
I feel great.
We all feel great.
It was really a miscarriage of justice that, obviously it was an abortion on a lot of fronts, but they really should have included I Feel Great and Chilling in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
we didn't get
So
either of those.
two of the best cuts
Yep.
left on the cutting room floor.
I'm just
Or just not
chilling.
even
It's
considered.
Cedar
yeah,
Rapids,
not
Cedar
even
Rapids.
cut.
no outdoor summer hoops either.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't recorded. That was only a
Are
tweet.
we recording?
Yeah, we're on
Yeah.
right now.
Okay.
What? Wait a minute. What? We're recording.
Whoa, what?
Oh my God! This could
I'm
be
sorry.
heard
Let
by
me
someone.
let me get the clapper in here to signal that we're actually on.
I thought we were just having a casual
Thank
convo.
you, thank you.
I thought we
Now-
were just
now
letting
I
our
know.
guard down.
Should we do the thing that they do so often in this doc where they're like, thank God, now that the mics and cameras are
Yeah,
off, we can be real candid.
Yeah.
And then you guys just talk about how I'm your woman shield for this episode.
Yeah, make sure we got Catherine in here so that we can't be called misogynists.
Yeah. Happy to be that shield.
That ought to hold the little SOBs. No. Yes.
All of our fans are
welcome.
SOBs.
Yeah, welcome back to Chapo.
Hell.
This is now part 2 of Hyper Jokerfication. We are bringing you the third and final episode of the Hillary Docu-series.
Third and fourth
Third and
episodes.
fourth.
At the third and final. The fourth is the final.
Oh,
You
third
never,
and
never
final.
cut me
Okay.
off again. Never,
sorry.
ever fucking correct me again.
Also, how dare you say that this is Hillary's final chapter? Like, fuck you for that, too. She's not done.
So yeah, this is
Sadly, that's
I
probably
know,
true.
I know.
we are rounding out our series on Hillary, the Hillary Clinton documentary series.
Kill dog.
Yeah. All right. We should get into. We got a lot to talk about.
With that said,
in the
let's
Hillary-
despair now over the horrible
let's
documentary.
Look, let's gaze.
Well, and despair that we could have avoided. This wasn't foist on us.
Well,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have absolutely not done this and stayed home, but I was like, yeah, I'm bored. I'll go over to Will's.
All right. Hillary Clinton.
You have to put your soul at hazard.
All right. I guess I should officially start the show. It's Chapo. It's Chapo. We got Chris Wade is joining us on the mic,
Hello, I'm here.
and back again is Catherine Krieger,
Hey.
Brendan James.
Hey, everybody.
I feel like we should formally announce that Felix Biederman is indeed still alive.
Yeah.
Felix is suffering from a non-coronavirus related ailment at the moment.
Yes, there is some severe enough not to be on the show, but not severe enough that anybody should panic. Gastrointestinal distress going on. Some of the Chapo crew, but hopefully we will.
He's shitting on his doo-doo ass.
We are all still fine, and I'm gonna, actually at the end of the show I got some. We're gonna have some things coming for you guys, and while you're all in lockdown to keep you entertained. We got some.
Virgil, however, you might not hear from until the end of this thing.
Yeah, he's locked in his drug cube.
Yes.
Okay,
Isolation cube.
Hillary. Last week we did episodes 1 and 2. Here are episodes 3 and 4. Let's go. Beginning with episode 3 entitled "The Hardest Decision."
What was the hardest decision made in this? I don't
I guess
even know
it's
what to
stay
I
say.
think it's
with
referring to
Bill.
stay with Bill Clinton.
Honestly, it took me a beat. I was also questioning.
That was
but
the only
yeah.
thing that was really in the episode.
Well, and it was like 75% of the episode, and then they kind of shoehorned 2008 in there.
But
No,
I mean,
that wasn't until the next episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
God.
nothing about 2008.
So long.
I mean, we're getting
blowjob.
we're getting ahead of it, but the way it portrays it, it was not a decision. It was the entire time she was like, "Yeah, of course, I love Bill Clinton. I'm not
Yeah,
going
it
to
wasn't
leave him
even
at
a
all."
decision.
Well, yeah, it
Yeah.
certainly didn't give you like her internal.
She never said, like, I can
decision making process.
Yeah, she never said, like, as far as like the hardest decisions. She never said on camera, like, well, obviously I considered leaving him.
Yeah.
She just says, like, it was just, like it's hard for two people to be in a marriage and blah blah. Anyway, so this one begins, of course. Now we're back in the interviews, and we notice that every single episode of this series begins with a moment where she's sitting to be interviewed, and like people are talking off camera, and it's this like totally
and they're
canned,
primping her.
inauthentic moment.
I'm
of,
sorry,
like,
I'll get my phone. I just need to get past all this hot sauce in my purse. that I always seem to have with me.
It's good that they started that way though, because it's a real good litmus test for the viewer. Because this movie is made for baby brain morons.
Yeah.
And you have to be an absolute baby brain moron
To think that's real.
Oh wow, I'm getting behind the scenes footage of Hillary unguarded. She doesn't even know the cameras are on.
I need to interject that was it during the fourth or the third that everyone besides me and Chris started singing along with the theme.
I think that was when we were fully Jokerfied by the fourth.
My bit was that if you've seen it, which don't, it's flashing her face over and over again, aging, and I was like, they should also have just like a little ticker number in the corner that's steadily going up, which is the Clinton body count.
Yes, that was
It's
very
basically like a jauntier version of the montage from Parallax View that brainwashes people into becoming assassins.
And then if you look really closely throughout the thing, you can see little. It's the director's cut version we've been watching that Pazuzu does flash. If you're careful to look.
Yeah. Also in the director's cut, Hillary does come down a staircase backwards. On her hands.
Which is the iconic scene.
It was weird.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
The Javits Center.
Yeah,
Spider walks backwards.
The lost
all right,
Javits Center footage.
So this now in the timeline of the A narrative, which is the 2016 election, episode 3 begins with post Super Tuesday, where it's like it really looks like Hillary Clinton is she is the nominee now. Basically, she has done away with that awful Bernie Sanders, and we don't really hear about him again. I will just say the only
Not
thing
at all. He's done.
the only
there's
the
one
only thing
there's one very
I'll
brief
get to that. I'll get to
aside.
that. The one thing I will like to make note, again, do not watch this, but if you watch the very beginning of episode 3, there is a still photo that they zoom in on where you can see Hillary Clinton's feeties.
Yeah.
That's true.
She shows
She shows this.
And
shows
from a
those little
distance,
piggies.
I'd have to examine them close up, but from a distance, they look.
We
they
will
look-
be. We will be. We will be later.
That's gonna be a bonus
Computer.
episode.
That's what we're doing after this. But they look fine.
But
They
yeah,
look
she
nice
shows all
enough.
the little piggies. And then basically, there's like a Kirsten Gillibrand and the Klob show up, and she has like her sort of like her gang,
Her
of,
squad.
like, she's got the squad.
A lot of
The
girl
squad before the
bosses.
squad.
Stabenow.
And yeah, and one of them says
Squad
the
up.
real revolution is electing the first woman president.
Yep.
And then
Just like what you were just talking about.
and then
the
in the talking head segment of it, like with Jennifer Palmieri and Mandy Grunwald, Crimes of the Grundlewald, Mandy Crimes of the Grundlewald, and like the NPR name woman, which is like
Tamara
Tamara Glorch.
I think her
Yeah,
name is
the not-
Tamara Keith.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. The not real name that
Amantha.
they assign
They
you.
assign you a non-name when you join NPR.
yeah.
They've taken away your name.
Number.
They've given you a name. Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, other way,
But
sorry.
anyway, one of them says, we began to see like a generational gap where young women were overwhelmingly supporting Bernie Sanders. And they were like, what's up with that? And then they were like older women, of course, were all for Hillary. And then we started to realize that younger women, and I'm quoting here, have no gender allegiance. Gender allegiance.
Gender allegiance.
True allegiance.
Well,
that
and they certainly
pledge
don't
allegiance to the
interrogate. They certainly don't interrogate the fact that young women are
No.
hating on
It's
Hillary.
like maybe it's because they are getting fucked over by the system and have a vested interest in seeing it change, as opposed to these rich old ladies who just want to see a lady president and don't have any other political
No,
concerns.
I mean, I remember-
it's easier to just dispense with them.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking about this like in the lead up to the 2016 election, where like people were obsessing over this very issue. Why do young women why are they going for this old man?
Have you ever met a young woman?
And it's just like, well, for women of a certain age, they all looked at Hillary and saw themselves. Certain age and like sort of, I guess, class position, I should say, all looked at Hillary and saw themselves. and their own struggles and career paths and hopes and aspirations, or the times they've been fucked over, blah blah blah, and they identified with her very strongly, and they were baffled why women of another generation looked at the same person and didn't see the same thing. And the fact is, all those women of our generation looked at Hillary and just saw their boss who they fucking hated.
The one thing they do take solace in, and you're probably getting to this, they're like, well, these younger voting age women don't really agree with this.
Yes.
Children
Yes.
love Hillary.
Yes.
And they
They
cut
don't-
to all these pictures of girls
Patty,
who would
that's
still
what
go to Disneyland and think they were actually meeting
John
Princess
Bonet being
Jasmine.
You guys are literally sneering at small.
Well, no, they were pitching. Her pitch was, "Hey, if you're retired and politics is a game to you, or if you're a baby, you love Hillary."
And they said like, oh, like all these little girls are showing up dressed in pantsuits.
It's
and they
child- it's
they
child
They
abuse. It
loved
makes it
Hillary
very
so
sad.
much, and like this was what happened. They clocked this immediately after they bring up, but then don't examine at all why no young woman of like below the age of 40 or 30 fucked with Hillary
Well,
Clinton.
if you
at all.
average the older women who liked Hillary better with the children, then you get the
yeah,
same
yeah.
age.
Then you get
You
a
come
very
up with,
strong.
like, you know,
You
yeah.
get the millennial generation.
Yeah.
Your campaign. We understand the young voting age demographics are bad, but you're outperforming in the Polly Pocket set, and that's going to really
You're
pull us over the line.
outperforming 0 to 3 years of age.
Yes.
And then, of course, they get into like, well, then you had to change gears and start campaigning in a general election against Trump. And she says of campaigning against Trump, it's just that he had so much negative energy. The vibes were fucked.
No.
Hillary was bringing plur,
Yes.
and Trump was bringing.
Can we get a vibe check on the Trump campaign?
Trump
please?
was bringing anger and negativity into a presidential campaign, which anger and negativity certainly have no place in American politics.
No.
None whatsoever. It's certainly never been marshaled to productive ends in the past, or for whatever
Well, and
reason.
you'll recall is how they characterized Bernie's campaign. So
It was strange because there was all this negative energy from the Bernie people, is what they said in the one
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And then Trump gets up there and they just don't understand. Like, why would anyone be mad at us?
Right.
Why would anyone not like the way
like
things
why
work?
are people mad at all? Not
Yes.
even just at us.
So
like
then-
why is
Right.
there an anger?
Yeah.
So, and then we get like clips of Trump, and it is so fucking funny because every single clip of Trump that they provide in this documentary is him just being 100% correct and accurate.
Spitting fire. I mean,
Just-
honestly.
No.
Just spitting nothing but gems, and he just goes.
Well, and also he's correct on every count about
he says-
Hillary.
I think the only card she has is the woman's card. She's got nothing else going. And frankly, if Hillary Clinton were a man, I don't think she'd get 5% of the vote. The only thing she's got going is the woman's card. And the beautiful thing is, women don't like her.
All she's got is the woman card, and he goes, and women don't even like her.
True. White
Just
women
like-
voted for Trump.
And then they show her awesome line where he's like, well, if Trump says I'm playing the woman card, well, if getting health care for women and girls is playing the woman card, then deal me in. And then they show backstage like all her people clapping and cheering. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, she's crushing it.
Yep.
And
She's
then-
absolutely
and then
crushing
they go to
it.
Trump again, don't they?
No, they go to Trump later in another really amazing segment. Then we get, in my opinion, we mentioned this guy on the last episode on this,
Oh,
but in
yeah.
my opinion, the absolute most revolting of these talking heads is former Time reporter Joe Klein.
Disgusting.
I've already
pustule.
explained to you how he is just this disgusting courtier to Hillary Clinton in this. He says in this episode, quote, Hillary was the leader of the feminist revolution. People forget that. And even in the 90s, there was an element of radicalism to her feminism.
No one has ever said that with a straight face.
You've just
before.
watched, presumably, the second episode before this that showed all that, and even the documentary doesn't convince you of that. So he's just saying that she was a radical feminist leader in the 90s. It's like strange.
And again, like,
I mean,
And-
even if you're giving the most generous interpretation of this documentary and Hillary, what it portrays is somebody who comports themselves to public opinion at
Correct.
literally every single thing that who and you know
In a
again to be generous,
self-sacrificing
like
way.
she has perhaps it's unfair or how public opinion changes, but at every moment she's like, oh, the public
Yes.
needs me to be this. I will change to be
That's
exactly
not a
this. Like,
radical.
literally no pushback against what
And it's just
what is desired from her.
and it is
from the
so
public.
funny that Joe Klein shows up as a talking head to just praise her, to just up and down, like it's nauseating. But like I mentioned this in the last episode. He wrote the book Primary Colors anonymously, which is a novel that was very thinly based on the 1992 Bill Clinton campaign that was top to bottom, just pure. It was just an outlet for all the gossip that he had about being that close to the Clinton campaign and people around him that he couldn't report on because that's not like either that would like he wrote it anonymously as
Not
well because it would
serious
burn a lot of
enough.
bridges or whatever. But that whole book is about what a complete pussy hound Bill is. That he even had a kid outside of wedlock, and that their relationship between the two main characters, or not the main characters, but the Bill and Hillary stand-ins in Primary Colors, is one of absolutely transactional, bloodless power, lust for power.
No, she
and
loved him.
that the Hillary character in that book was well aware of his many, many marital infidelities for years and years and years, and went along with all of it because she wanted a seat at the table. The portrayal of Hillary is like how she actually dealt with that in this documentary is 1000% the opposite of what Joe Klein cheekily and anonymously did in that book, which was basically saying, here's what we all know is true about Bill Clinton, but I'm going to write an anonymous novel that's winking at you, and I'm going to say all the shit that everyone who covered Bill Clinton and his campaign knew about him and their relationship. So that is really something. We then jump back in time to 1995. Where we had last left off our intrepid hero, she had just failed to reform healthcare in America.
Whoop.
And she said, it's time to regroup and reform after, that loss. And she said, yes, we had some very tearful meetings with my staff. And I was like, yeah, they were crying as you were abusing them for letting you down, failing to, give you the big victory you
Amy
wanted.
Klobuchar's early start was throwing stapler at one of the Hillary people.
Then
She's an intern in charge of stapler throwing.
You'll go far.
Her next move is to travel the world with Chelsea and go to India and Pakistan in particular.
Oh, yeah.
And basically be seen on the world stage as like a leader for women globally because, women in America don't care about or like her. So she's going to go on a global stage.
Well, it's all positioning for the next thing.
And then it's just like Hillary was meeting with all these women who had studied to be doctors and lawyers, and then like they couldn't be because of the society they lived in. And that was a real eye opener for her. I was like, what the fuck? She's just learning about this now?
Well,
Like,
also, she just visited them. It's not like she did anything to change
and
that.
then also we do get a scene of
She's
her
like, oh damn, that sucks.
Yeah, damn.
I think of
Sucks
that
for you.
that scene in The Naked Gun where in the very beginning he gets out of the plane and there's all the press and he thinks it's for him and he's like, oh, you want to see the tough guy, the American, the police officer, and then George Kennedy goes, no, Frank, they're not here for you. Weird Al Yankovic is on the plane. And with Hillary, it's like Princess Di is actually behind her coming out and everyone in the world wants to meet her and Hillary's not.
and
really.
it's just like, and again, we get to see like a sort of a trope that's played out over and over again in this. When they talk to like the Hillary Renfields, or the people who were like on her staff at the time, they were like, what was so important about this is that when she went to these countries, people saw her and she saw them and they felt seen. And they just knew that they mattered because like America was like paying attention to them for the first time. It's like, well, we didn't do anything for them.
No.
And the one scene that she does show of consequence is her meeting with the pioneer of microloans, what is it, Muhammad Yunus.
Yeah. That was a great move.
Caused
that was solving poverty there.
a
about
rash
10
of
about 15 years
suicides
ago.
resulted like The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan. Microloans killed like so many people from just suicides where they just started like in that movie just like threw themselves in the lion exhibit or like
Lay down in front of a
lay down in
lawnmower.
front of a tractor because
It's like that-
microloans
it's like
destroyed.
that gif of people just running into a giant hole in the ground.
Yeah.
That's what microloans did.
Yeah.
It's like the Bird Box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
Bird Box like exactly.
So she goes from being a global ambassador for women to her next big move is to speak at the UN Women's Conference.
This
Oh, by the way, just
this
one
is
thing.
so good.
Clinton administration very friendly to the Taliban, just for obvious reasons. We should point that out. She was visiting South Asia. We worked with Taliban, tried to build an oil pipeline with them. So
Slay, Queen.
Her husband was actively working with the most repressive anti women's rights regimes in
But
in
no,
that
wait a
region.
minute. Oh, Brendan, you idiot. She told the world that women's rights
Or
are
human rights.
Well, that's what she did.
Also, if a woman is doing it, it is inherently
Well,
feminist.
this is the
so
speech part.
it's pretty fucked
So-
up of you to call that unfeminist.
So her next big move is she gives a speech at the UN Women's Conference in China. And they talked to all of the people who were on her staff, and they were like, nobody saw the speech. It was a very tight circle. We didn't want any vetting of it because we knew we did not want this speech to be diluted. There was too many important things that she needed to say,
Yeah.
unedited,
Too real.
unabridged. She's going to keep it 100% real. And then they showed clips of the speech, and it is like the most absolute drivel and pablum imaginable. It's like she comes out strong against setting women on fire. Who,
She
like,
says, "Yeah, we should not pour gasoline on people."
So then we see talking head Andrea Mitchell, by the way, the wife of Alan Greenspan.
Yep.
One of the most evil human beings in human history.
Fucked up of you to say that because she's also a horrible
journalist
in her own
Yeah,
right.
in her own right, she is. Yes, she has done
A Pentagon mouthpiece.
I mean, it's fucked up because maybe in a different world, Andrea Mitchell could have gone on to do as much evil as her husband.
Yeah.
But she only was able to do as much evil as her position as a just sort of like
In the era.
Yeah, in
that
the era
allowed
of
it.
in the era of like being a really shitty evil journalist would
Definitely.
allow.
Definitely.
Unlike her husband, who is the head of the Federal Reserve and like, I don't know, has immiserated, untold billions through
Yes.
monetary policy.
Yes.
Andrea Mitchell says of the UN speech that Hillary Clinton gave, she redefined human rights around the world.
We all remember this speech.
Remember
by
when
the
that
way.
happened?
This UN speech. Honestly, have you ever heard of this UN speech she gave? I think I vaguely remember that, like, she went to the UN or something, but it's padding. It's so clearly padding for this episode.
So,
Are you going to talk about how this speech actually played out?
there's a funny moment.
I can recount it. I can recount it. Basically, they're going on and on about like, we kept this under lock and key, and then Hillary's recounting, or the people around her recounting her actually giving the speech, and everyone is listening through translators mostly. So it's essentially like Hillary kept waiting for the big applause.
There's a 20-minute delay.
You need a big
There was a
stinger,
20
yeah.
minute. She keeps waiting for things to hit, and they're kind of just not. And then they show, supposedly after the 20-minute delay, they show the audience, and all of these women are just doing like a golf clap, and then they show her being approached after the speech, but just like, she's not mobbed.
No.
Like, no one went fucking ape shit
it's
for
a
it.
manufactured like moment in her career
Yes.
because they need
But
padding for that
anyone who
episode.
saw the reaction would be like, "Oh yeah, they're just clapping like you would at any speech." It
There's
was
like third world
very-
nations being like, "I'm a woman president. I'm already like pretty
Yeah.
much there. I'm
Yeah.
doing good human rights shit."
Even though she was saying like, do you know like rape is used as a tactic of war, and
Yeah.
all these women are just like, yeah,
Yeah, we know. Yes.
yeah. Anyway, very good.
So this is
gave a
Hillary's next
speech.
big moment. Then we get into Bill Clinton. He wins re-election in 1996, and then we get to see Clinton simp Paul Begala, who says our plan was working, the economy was booming, and and also they talk to Bill Clinton again. And someone pointed this out. The good thing about seeing Bill Clinton talk on camera in interviews in this documentary is that every time he opens his mouth, you can see the life drain out of him just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like minute to minute, second to second, word to word. You can see like vitality and like light leaving his body.
Well, ever since 2007, when a friend of his, couldn't hang out anymore.
Yeah. Then we get to there's one interesting moment where she talks about like her failure with health coverage, and she says, "Look, we didn't get to universal coverage, but I think all or nothing is the wrong debate to be having. We did as much as possible, given the confines, and we were able to pass the CHIP bill, which gave healthcare to like 10 million children or whatever, which is like good." CHIP, rather have it than not have it.
Good
but
show.
But what I realized about this when she's talking about it, like on almost any other political issue, I can kind of see like the Democrat brain, like realistic, pragmatic approach where they're like, look, you're never going to get all of what you want given the two-party system and that like how divided the Republicans are, how far they are from what we want. So you're always going to get you're always going to have to compromise or get a little bit better to get a little bit of what you want rather than nothing or the whole thing, right? I think we're seeing right now how healthcare is a glaring exception to that paradigm because we are seeing right now healthcare is an issue in which it literally is all or nothing.
You're only as healthy as everyone else around you.
Yes, exactly. And like now this is the textbook fucking example of like what it means to have a patchwork private healthcare system where, we do some good for some people as much as we can. We're just like, no, this healthcare is absolutely all or nothing. Because guess what? What we have now might as well be nothing.
Yeah.
It might as well be nothing.
Yeah. People are being like held up in hospitals and not being allowed out because they can't get their fucking insurers to get on the same page with the fucking hospitals.
And not a month ago was Nancy Pelosi up on a fucking podium saying, we'll make sure the vaccine's affordable.
Yeah, not
free. As a fucking vaccine that even for the Democrats, it's like, this is the legacy of the Clintons, for example.
Well, and they feel
It's still here.
they feel no shame in offering people affordability even when it's life or death.
And then everyone yells at them, and they're like, "I meant free." Yeah, but
Yeah.
We then get an amazing moment that I'm actually. Oh, that's the. Sorry, it's my beans are done.
Will's,
My beans are
Will's
done.
thinking about them beans.
Will's cooking
kind of
beans.
Just some
Yeah, we're living good.
some
We're
kidney
living
beans.
good.
Okay, cool.
They're gonna be real good. Anyway, we then get
Thanks.
an amazing segment of this documentary that I'm actually a little shocked that they included, considering that they did not include, as we're going to discuss, her fainting on 9/11.
Yeah.
Anything at all about her campaign against Barack Obama or her vote for the war in Iraq
Or going into Libya.
or Libya or anything
Spoiler.
like that.
Well, they allude to Libya.
They
we'll
allude
get
to
there.
Libya. We'll get to that.
because she was wrong.
We then get an amazing moment where they address her comments on the crime bill.
Oh yeah,
And this is astonishing that they
forgot
kept
about
it
this.
in.
Yeah, I was
Because
surprised.
she said so all she talks about it at the end, but then they get her again, the Hillary Renfields say, okay, well how can we bring up the
Torgos.
fact that she called children super predators,
Which
and,
they play that whole clip.
and that her husband, and with her backing in her speeches, helped put an entire generation of people in jail for nonviolent offenses. This is what they say. They basically said, well, you don't understand, at the time crime was a really big problem, and this has support on both sides of the aisle. So we'd be crazy not to do this. And she said, people forget
magazines.
and
had said-
there's this one.
Yeah,
I think it's the
magazines.
NPR woman or one of the other Grundlewalds.
I think it's
says,
it's her.
look, they say, look, some of the things he said in the light of 2016 look bad, but Super Predator, that was on a magazine cover.
The movie Predator had only come out 5 or 6 years earlier with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was a huge hit.
But
very
that's,
popular.
and that's just so she is either doing incredibly brave, path-breaking stuff like redefining human rights,
Yeah.
or hey, look, it was it was the
Everyone was saying it.
90s.
It was the
Everyone
90s.
Well,
She was in a
can't
waiting
go-
room. It was
I
on a
can't
magazine
go
cover.
against popular.
Isn't the point
it's on
that-
magazines. How am I supposed to go against it?
They literally
She's
say it was on magazines, that phrase.
Yeah.
She's
It's
redefining.
like, what is she? Is she fucking? Is she a brave truth teller who will break with orthodoxy, or is she just someone who's going to do whatever the fuck magazines and conventional wisdom tell her to do?
Well, she's redefining human rights for a very specific set, right? She's not redefining
She's
human rights.
dramatically restricting them
even
for others.
Well, even for black women, it's about white women of means.
And for this documentary, which is so, I mean, you have to say, just the zeal and the confidence it has to show you this and then say, it wasn't a big deal. You've heard of the Super Predator thing. We're correcting the record. It was actually fine that she said that and that she supported
There was bipartisan consensus
and
around Super
the
Predators.
draconian bill, that also there were failings. Bernie voted for that bill, for example. But that instead of examining it, that later on in the same episode, there's clips from 2016 where Black Lives Matter protesters
Yes.
are, the ghost haunting her. And instead of even picking it up as a possible contradiction or a possible point of learning or drama, it's just, I understood why they were upset. There's a lot of injustice out there. And it's
No,
in the same,
she said they wanted to be heard.
they wanted to be heard. It's the same fucking episode where you see her supporting the crime bill that put up the balloon
Not-
the prison
not
population.
so
Not
little
10 minutes-
self-awareness, even among the filmmakers.
I mean, I don't know
10
if it's
minutes
aware or
later,
not.
they have clips of her at a rally saying so many young black men unjustly in prison with
It's
no
unbelievable.
examination.
It's North Korea. We've said it a bunch of times, but it is the hagiography that you would expect of a one-party state or dear leader shit. It is amazing. Except she's never even been the dear leader.
There are two quotes here from Hillary Clinton on this topic that are worth sharing. She says of the crime bill, did it have parts that had unintended consequences? Yes, it did. Then she says of the Super Predators comment, and this is in the one-on-one interview, and this is the only time she's ever really challenged by the interviewer, and she drips contempt.
Oh God,
She just
so
drips
dismissive.
anger and contempt. And she says, I was talking about gang members. I didn't put a race on it.
Wink, wink, gang
If I liked
member.
it, I would have put a race
I was
on it.
talking about I was talking about dangerous inner city thugs. I didn't put a race on
Frankly,
it.
it's
Yeah.
racist of you. Oh,
Yeah.
when you picture a super predator,
Yeah.
you see someone black.
just did the racism.
It's
By
like
the way,
it's like
the-
the Michael Scott thing.
The unintended consequences she's talking about are not mass incarceration. That was the intended consequence. They
Right.
said it at the time. More
Yes.
people in prison. The unintended consequences are people getting mad at her about it 20 years later.
Yes. yes.
Well, that's what she says. They said, did you have to answer for this?
Then we get back to the present, and she talks about running against Donald Trump, and she says, I was running kind of a textbook campaign. Meanwhile, my opponent is just ranting and raving. Then we get another clip of Trump being 100% on point, where she says, Hillary Clinton's a bigot. She only likes black people for their votes.
Correct.
And we just saw the crime bill part.
Slaves! Remember the slaves?
Yeah, they
Remember
didn't
the
mention
slaves?
that. They didn't mention
They
the governor's
certainly did
mansion.
not mention the slaves.
And then we get into this whole thing where like Mook and the other Torgos are just talking about how it was so unfair that like they were running such a good, perfect campaign, but for some reason Trump was just driving the media conversation the whole time.
Also,
and
just
they talk
bodying them.
and
Little
then they
did
talk about how
know.
like, well, Trump's all of his Republican opponents tried all these things to like talk about how shameful and out of line he was, and that didn't work. So we were just going to repeat the exact same thing.
Exact same
The
thing.
exact same thing that they just saw Jeb, Marco, Little Marco, Lazy Jeb,
Lying
Sleepy
Ted.
Jeb, Lying Ted. They all just ate shit they're trying to be like, how dare you, sir? And they're like,
Apologize to my wife.
yeah. And then they're like, well, we're gonna have some of that.
Yeah.
I want what he's having.
Yeah.
The big bowl of shit soup. Then there's hilarious footage of Philippe Reigns playing Donald Trump in their mock debates, which they loved so much. They're
They're
mock
like, wow,
debates.
Philippe, you really look like a big, fat, asshole, schlub, piece of shit. He's like, what, are we doing it yet? I was just having a...
I gotta say, I said this multiple times while watching, completely catfished by Felipe. Like I guess I've only seen his Twitter avatar, and I'm not afraid of admitting that I've occasionally appreciated the appearance of some problematic people, and I was like, damn, Philippe, kind of a fox. In this doc, it was like, oh my God, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
He looks like a fridge. Yeah.
He does.
He's got the Yashar Ali.
He's got a. Oh, he does. That's what I thought of.
God.
It is
That's
Yashar
what I
level.
thought of.
Yeah.
Yes. I also it's on the record that Philippe went off his unspecified meds in order. Like he went so
Method
he
acting.
went so method to play Donald Trump. And again, like it
He also gained a
technically
bunch of weight and looked like shit, I guess.
it also technically worked, but like not in the long run.
Well, here's the thing. These last two episodes have so much stuff about the debates.
Yeah.
And there's so much behind the scenes stuff, and there's so much analysis of the debates, or like what they tried to do, and they showed her like winning the debates. And here's the thing. As Matt pointed out, like people forget she did win all of
she
those
won.
debates.
People have kind of like retroed it in their mind because Trump won the election. That means he won the debates. I remember all the polls, all the things, not just obviously the press all said she won, but just all the polls of people said she won significantly. What people found out, though, is that it didn't fucking matter. Right. And I honestly feel like people are more comfortable with the idea that Trump won the debates.
Right.
Because then these things still have some function.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea that they're totally superfluous is more upsetting to people.
Yep.
So they would rather imagine in their mind that Trump won. No, he looked like a fucking moron.
Yep.
And erratic, and he was wandering around and sniffing like a maniac.
But there were also the moments that lived on are wrong, you know, and like these moments in which he
Right,
dominated.
because he got some awesome gifts.
and like
out of it.
as it gets into episode 4, like they
And he had
say,
some great moments, like you should be in jail.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and
great.
beyond being superfluous, like they don't matter, and also like are like a 1-to-1 about how wrong like the media and pundit class were,
I mean, it's the same thing we saw
and how limited
with-
their influences.
with Bernie
Yeah,
and Biden is
absolutely.
that basically at this point the only thing that matters in any kind of election is earned media, or unearned media is like what the networks are talking about. And if they're talking about Donald Trump all the time, if they're talking about the emails, that's it. That's the game.
Earned
And it's the
media,
same-
that is.
that earned media. Whatever, you know what I'm saying.
well, unearned media. For
I call it
I'm
unearned.
pedantic about it. Yeah, I call it
But
unearned
yeah.
media.
And it's the same,
I call
same
it
thing.
anti-social media.
No, but like they
I call him dumb phone.
no, but like they there's so much in these last two episodes about the debates, and they even say in the 4th episode, as they're approaching the 0 hour, they're like, well, yeah, we all thought we were going to win because we all knew that we won all 3 of those debates. And Matt's, you're 100% right. People have invented in their own minds this idea that Trump won those debates because they'd rather believe that the debates are still matter.
Yes.
Or that like that this one-on-one contest of like truth and the crucible
Logic.
of debate and logic matters even a whit. Just a fart in the wind
Doesn't matter.
overall. Okay, so then we're getting to the end of this episode. Now we're getting to the hard decision. We cut back in time to 1998, and here's what I've been waiting for. We get into all of Bill's dirty deeds. Dun, dirty cheat. So we heard from Peter Baker of the New York Times that, like, as far as back as the '92 election, there were all these stories out there about Bill Clinton. But for some reason, nobody in the media wanted to touch the Paula Jones story because they were like, "That's just not our job. It's just too dirty.
It's
just,
icky," is what
it's
Peter
icky.
Baker
How can we
says.
cover it? Like, how can we cover it with any like with our capital T New York Times standard of truth?"
Kath, as
Also-
you pointed out, a similar attitude that a lot of people had toward the Epstein.
Yes.
Which
yes.
again, those stories are around for decades.
Yep. But they were
And
icky.
in both cases, you have Hillary fucking I am every woman Clinton on record denigrating everybody who's ever accused Bill Clinton of a sexual
She's
offense.
a Looney Tune, is what she calls
Yeah,
it.
like how fucking empowering is that to women when your disgusting husband's sexual predation
Amazing
is
to
something
see-
you cover up, and you cover it up by defaming the women who he abused.
It's luckily it's over, but it was wonderful to see James Carville let back in from the swamp.
Michael Bennett.
Yeah. He was like saying shit about Bernie.
Oh,
on
yeah,
the left.
He was backing Bennett.
He was backing Bennett,
Oh,
but like after Bennett
whatever.
dropped out, he kept being invited back on cable
But
news to be
he
like,
quite famously said about Paula Jones, like you.
if she's what you get when if you put $100 bill on a fishing line and drag it through a trailer park.
yes,
Yep.
exactly, exactly.
That's what
Woof.
James Carville said about Paula Jones during the 1992.
Like, imagine if someone
campaign.
connected to Bernie said, you know,
Or if Trump even,
Yes.
everyone would be up in arms, as they should be,
Yes.
about what a sexist, horrible, misogynistic thing
but
to
like
say.
no one gives a shit.
And as you pointed out, Will, there was that meeting that Clinton had with Titus Peace Pussy.
Oh yeah, no, this was Alexander Coburn wrote a piece where he talked about it was a Native American activist and leader in the state of Arkansas related a story to Coburn about how him and Bill Clinton were having lunch at like a diner in Little Rock. And Bill was, of course, being flirty with the waitress and turning on the charm, being slick Willie. And when the waitress walked away, Clinton turns to the guy who told Coburn this story and said, "There goes the tightest piece of pussy in all of Arkansas."
Yeah.
So I mean, like, and this
If
is
that was
and this is
recorded-
funny as we get into the Access Hollywood tape,
Right,
in
exactly.
episode 4, which is
Exactly.
like again on tape, whereas
Yeah.
this is just this is hearsay. This is through a story of a story.
Diner talk.
It's diner talk. Yeah, it's diner talk. Yeah, it's when the boys are in the diner.
Yeah.
So okay, then we get Hillary talks about early one morning, Bill came into the bedroom and said, "Look, there's going to be a story in the Washington Post that talks about this intern and says that we had a relationship." And then he just straight up lies to her.
Yeah.
He straight up lies to her.
Yeah.
And he lies to like everyone in his inner
Proceeds
circle.
to lie to the faces of every single person in their orbit.
Yeah, and like
you lied to Paul Begala.
no, this is my favorite part.
Who is the one who seems most genuinely offended
Yeah,
by
no,
the
Like
lie?
lying to a child.
Dude, the Paul Begala comes back and he's like, Clinton brought it up, and I said, like, is there anything there? And he said, no, there isn't. I said, okay, sir, let's work on bringing back jobs to America. And Paul Begala is so funny because I'm totally convinced that Chris, you're right. He is the only person in Clinton's family and inner circle who ever believed him for a second
Yep.
about any of this shit.
He's the
rest
part-
of them were just like, Bill Clinton was just like, all right, I didn't do anything wrong. They're like, okay, that's the line we're going
He's
with.
the Robert Kardashian.
Yeah.
of
He's
the
never
Clinton
not going to
fan.
be Slick Willie.
Yeah.
So
It's like he's not Slick Willie anymore.
So that's like cutting a little forward. Then it's like whatever. 2-3 months later, it's like the facade is crumbling down. Everybody knows it happens. Bill knows that he has to admit that it happened. So then he has another sit on the edge of the bed conversation goes around, and just to say I'm Begala.
With everybody, for some reason, was on the edge of
He's
the bed.
sitting on
Begala's bed saying,
Yeah.
"Hey champ, what's up?"
Scoot a little closer.
Hey, champ, me and your mother are going to be living in different houses. Will you still play catch with me? Yes, on the weekends, Paul.
is this
Only
my
on
fault?
the weekends.
But in the current interviews, in the 2020 interview sections, everybody when this is happening tries to summon tears about it. Hillary tries to cry when she's talking about it.
tries.
Bill almost gets to crying.
Yeah.
The person who most genuinely looks like they're on the edge of tears talking about the betrayal is Paul Begala.
No, I love Bill Clinton just coming in Paul Begala's bed. He's sitting at the end of the race car, and he's like, "Yeah, it's not about you, Paul. We still love you, George, James.
Just because we don't love each other anymore doesn't mean we don't love you.
We even love little Dickie Morris."
Those are both very good bills.
Thank you. Dick Morris, he should have been in
Yeah,
this
Dick,
more.
he would have loved the foot image.
Absolutely.
At the beginning of this episode.
No, actually, Begala was very hurt, but George Stephanopoulos was like, "Hey, great, 2 trips to Little St. James."
Oh, Amazon gift card. Too mad. And then also, there's one thing I actually didn't know about this. Jennifer Palmieri another one of these ghouls that shows
Awful.
up. Monica Lewinsky was her intern, and they talk about the only reason she had gotten so close to Bill in the Oval Office.
This is so
because
good.
this was during the Republican government shutdown.
Yep.
And they almost basically kind of imply that Bill Clinton had to get top because the Republicans put him in that position.
No, it's too stressed.
No, when they cut back
really
to when they sit Bill down and give him the moment of being like, explain yourself, sir. Explain yourself. Why is it? He's just like, I was under so much stress.
Yeah.
So much. I had so much untreated
So
anxiety.
much anxiety.
Yeah.
He was out of spoons.
I was out of spoons. I was out of spoons. That was the only therapy I had. It's low-key
Monica gave me the spoons I needed.
It's low-key kind of gross for you for you to say that I can't relieve my stress that way.
No, there was like he was like he's like we all go through pain and we've all suffered fear and terror in our lives, and sometimes you just you need something that'll get you through the next 10, and then he says months, but he starts by saying 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The next.
No, he says he's about to say, I just needed someone to take my mind off for about 10 a while. It's like he's gonna say blowjob time.
I mean,
and then he just goes into a vague.
I mean, he's right though.
Yeah,
No,
sure.
but the clips of
do be
Punished
like
Bill talking about this are so fucking good.
Yeah,
Because he
Punished Bill.
literally says, I had to get top because of my imposter syndrome. He was like, I got elected president, but it's sort of like, do I even deserve to be here?
Yeah.
I'm just pretending. Does
I was
everyone
a
else
gift-
know that I'm a fraud?
No, don't know what it's like to be a gifted kid.
It's so fucking gross.
Yeah.
And also, the one thing I want to say about Jennifer Palmieri when she brings up Monica Lewinsky is that it is so fucking obvious that she still fucking hates
Yes.
her to
That
this
little strumpet.
that little whore, that little Apartment 2A, Monica Lewinsky, you got a whore living here. There's a whore in the White House.
Get your own
president.
How hard is it to keep your mouth shut or at least clean the fucking dress, you idiot?
Oh yeah.
And then Palmieri says of Bill Clinton, she was like, well, I thought nothing of sending this, 20-year-old intern into the Oval Office, like, I don't know, fetch him pizza or whatever.
Well, and
He
like
thought
being in there alone.
being in there alone with Bill
because
Clinton.
it was during the shutdown, so interns were having significantly more contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
With
then
the president
Jennifer
than they would
Palmieri says
normally
about
have.
this. Of course, I thought nothing of it because I never would have thought Bill Clinton would do anything that stupid. And it's like anyone who knew him at any level of his life would have known
that gets-
exactly what he was going
That
to do.
gets into the whole fiction pervading
Yeah.
everyone's interviews, which is that the presumption is supposed to be that Hillary had no idea that this was going on, and that she was devastated to learn that Bill would have been cheating on her.
Yeah,
And-
Well, and also that this was like some unique,
Event.
some unique
Singular moment.
sin in his
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, it
We're
wasn't
just like I got caught up in this one moment as opposed to a life of stupid
I
indiscretions.
told you about all the other times he had been accused, but this is the one that coincided with the impeachment, which
Yes.
is politically.
Well, this is the one that counts.
during the Punished Bill interview,
He really does look punished.
and the interviewer says, "Did you think you were taking a risk? Like,
Cheating on your wife.
Yeah, no, but he's like, nobody thinks about risk in situations like that. It's like, I'm a dog for it once I get the scent. No, he didn't actually say that, but that's what he was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Then we get, so he confesses his misdeed to his family, his inner circle, and then eventually the country, and that
and
hilarious
he
TV.
he tells Hillary, and then we don't really know what Hillary's response is, but Hillary does say like, well, now you got to go tell Chelsea, and that's going to be worse.
And then there's this awful moment where, like, the day after he does his like national address, where he's
God.
just like, I did get top. I've gotten top in the past in this office, in this very chair.
Where you're
And then we
sitting
get
right
and then
there.
they go on a vacation to Martha's Vineyard, and they're walking across the White House lawn to like Marine One. And Chelsea gets in between her mom and dad and holds both their hands and sort of connects them.
First of
completely
all,
spontaneous.
And Hillary
little,
says-
little too old to be doing that, in my
And then
opinion.
Hillary says it was just so incredible and strong and wise of her to create that,
Bill
TV
Bill is
moment
also
for us.
walking their dog.
Yeah.
As they're getting onto Air Force
And then
One.
I forgot that they had that dog. I know they had
Buddy.
Socks the Cats famously. Matt reminded you it was Buddy.
Buddy.
And then you said that Buddy went on to get hit by a car.
Yes.
because they discarded him.
Yeah. They gave socks to their the secretary in the Oval Office,
Mrs. Landingham?
Betty Jordan. I think her name was-
She got hit by a car too. Whoa!
They gave the cat away to Betty Jordan, I
Pusillanimous
think her name was, and then after they left the office, Buddy got hit by a car. Suspiciously, his hyoid bone was broken.
What did he know? That dog has seen a lot. That's for sure.
That dog did see a lot.
Throw a towel on Matt.
So
He's
yeah,
on fire.
so they go to Martha's Vineyard. Then we get another amazing moment from Mandy Grunwald, where she says like talking
General
about like,
Grievous.
General
Grievous.
Oh god, we get another amazing moment where she's basically talking about how like the public reception about how like people just don't understand like Hillary really did love Bill and they had a real relationship in marriage. And what she says here is very telling. She says basically the problem is like nobody really understands that about her. And this is a person whose job, and it's given to you in her name and title on the documentary, is media consultant to the Clintons. And basically what she's saying as a media consultant is like, the problem is, here's the story I'm telling you. This is the narrative that I'm giving you about the real Hillary Clinton and Bill, which is that, of course, she was devastated. Of course, it was a real decision to stay in this marriage. You know, she's just like you or I, or like these are real people. And this wasn't just a totally crass, calculated, cold-blooded political move on her part and something that she always knew about this guy. She just says, people don't understand this. And this is a media consultant basically saying, the problem with people is that they don't believe the horseshit that we're shoveling to them.
Yes. Yep.
And that is and she's saying it in a documentary about Hillary Clinton where she's basically saying, as a stand-in for everything, that the problem with American public and Hillary Clinton is that they don't understand her story or her side of it, which is my job to tell you. And that basically she's saying they don't believe it, and they don't believe her.
That's the documentary.
That is the entire
This whole
documentary.
documentary, the first
is attempting
episode
to
is-
explain
so
that.
no one understands. We all know our polarized image of Hillary, but no one understands her. When really, of course, it means they don't believe her, and then no documentary is going to fucking fix that.
I mean, we'll get what we're talking about this here. We'll get into this in the last episode, which covers her actual political career, very glossily
for like 5 minutes.
But throughout this whole thing, it is like every time a scandal in the Clinton family comes up, the overwhelming attitude from all the people involved, all the Clintons, all the Clinton Torgos, is this wasn't a big deal. Like no explanation, no defense, no acknowledgement of what people could see. But
They were
it's just
like,
like
it was just crazy that people were
even
accusing
thinking
us
that.
of all these things.
And it just
Yeah.
reminds me, it keeps like the scandals in the Clinton, in the association with the Clinton family, reminds me of that Onion headline that's like the guy being like, why do all these gay guys keep sucking my dick? It's like, why do all these scandals keep piling up around the Clinton family?
Right.
Oh, they must be all fake.
Well,
There's no way this family
it
could be this
certainly
scandalous.
can't be that they're uniquely criminal, corrupt, and underhanded.
Yep.
It's just
No,
people have just decided for no good reason to despise them.
Yeah. Is that episode? Is that episode?
So that basically
three?
that takes you to the end of episode 3.
I feel like I've
just one more
aged
quick hit.
years.
Barney Frank shows up being interviewed, and his nipples are still protruding. Disgusting.
I had never seen the Barney Frank photo, and now my life is worse.
He's got
for
some
it.
big ones.
But he's got
He's
tiggles.
got some tiggles.
He's got some
Good,
tiggles.
good tweet. Accurate tweet.
A
from
great
Trump.
tweet by Trump. Very
but
disgusting and
before we
disrespectful.
move into the
Still
final one,
live.
I think it's worth noting. Like, I at least I really thought episode 3 was going to cover, the Lewinsky maybe the first half, and then the Lewinsky scandal the first half, and then 2008 after that, or Senate, and then 2008, or at least Senate career. And we get none of that. And so in episode 4, they have to cover all of the actual
just
political
jam it all
career,
in.
which there's no real time for. So the third episode was basically just about the Lewinsky scandal.
Yeah, no. It's
So you could run out
amazing.
the clock.
I mean, this person is presumably a person you want to watch a documentary about because of their political career. I mean,
Yeah,
she ran for president twice.
supposedly.
She was a senator. But yeah, the last episode shoehorns in her entire political career and glosses over it entirely.
Because
Well,
when she won and was senator, she didn't really do anything. And then when she lost, it's like we got to speed past it.
Don't you think that's
she
in-
went to George W. Bush and said, "Please, can we have $20 billion?"
We'll get to
And,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's in part because if you're a Hillary diehard watching this, they assume that like you know the most recent shit?
Well, you know it and have put it in that part of your brain that's just like, do not think about
You
when it comes
either-
to the Iraq War.
You
or
are
any-
you are that, and you know it / don't ever think it's fair to bring it up. Or I think there are young people that are at least counting on watching it, young women, and there are going to be some, and they should not know about those.
Well,
things.
so if people
Wait, all the young women who already hate her, you mean?
Well,
if
yeah.
people were only going to watch one episode, I would tell them to watch 3.
Well, we're making. I personally feel like we've got a lot of great juice out of that episode, but I was pretty bored during it because it was just.
I've been bored during each one.
I know,
in
but
turn, though.
but it was interview after interview of just saying the same thing, which is that Bill fucked up. Hillary was sad.
Hillary did the right thing.
But
Yeah.
and it was just kind of like 75 minutes.
As an asshole, I like 4 the most because that shows them eating shit on election
All
day.
right, well,
I gotta go with
let's
4.
get into
All right,
it.
let's get into
it.
episode 4, which is titled "Be Our Champion, Go Away."
Please.
I'm telling you to be your fucking champion. You're forcing yourself on everyone all the time. It's only go away. You're saying, I'm going to be your champion. Everyone else is telling you to go away.
Good. For a second there, I thought you were going to say that no one is telling her to go away because I definitely am telling her to go away.
That's all they're telling you.
Sexism.
Because that's what they're like. Oh, it's so unfair. They want us to. We want you to be my hero. It's like no one wanted you to be anything.
No. But by the way, before we get into episode 4, we do have some breaking news about a new Chelsea Clinton project that's coming out.
Yes.
Catherine, you want to kip us to this?
I'm gonna fuck up the title, but she just tweeted about this, promoting a new HBO. Looks like a documentary premiering tonight about the basic. I'm fucking this up, but like
wasn't it it's called After Truth?
No, or something like that.
Post-truth, right? Didn't you say
After Truth? I thought you said After Truth.
Okay, that's what I said then. It's about like the victims, the impact, and the something else of disinformation.
Disinformancia.
Yeah, and that's honestly like discovering that while watching this, which like part 4 about 2016. We get some Putin in there, like felt very apropos.
I guess it's just going to be a cottage industry now of Clinton like whitewashing documentaries forever. I guess.
But Matt, you're 100% right about this. With Chelsea Clinton coming out with a documentary about literally the victims of fake news and like how like bad information can spread on the internet. This is all a long con.
She didn't make it for what it's worth.
Was she hosting it or promoting it?
She's promoting it.
Okay, this is like, well, why are all those photos of Ghislaine Maxwell at your wedding?
Yeah.
Be like, oh, those are Photoshop.
Fake news.
It's Photoshop.
Yeah, not real.
A troll farm did
Yeah.
that.
Phenomenon of deep fakes.
She definitely
I
wasn't my best
guarantee that's
friend.
in there. I guarantee.
I definitely didn't hang out with her. My parents definitely didn't go to Zorro Ranch on the regular.
Can you really trust any media these days?
So again, this episode opens with this infuriating fake candor as they like, primp and make up her, and like she's just like, this is going great. I feel great. I love being truthful with the American public, giving them the real story about my life and all the things I stand
This
for.
last one has her just holding a cell phone. In front
Oh,
of her.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
So-
'Cause that was a very like kind of savvy, dramatic device.
Yeah.
Talking about a scene that is as staged as Stanley Kubrick's moon landing. There's a section of her talking to Tim Kaine, who appears for the first and only
this is
time.
so good.
Again, there is never any coming to terms with the fact that if they had picked literally any person of color to be her running mate, she probably would have gotten over the hump. But they picked the blandest, safest, pro-life fucking Democrat they could think of.
The term is anti-abortion. Will
Sorry, anti-abortion. Sorry, edit that out.
I'm just giving you shit, but it is
Okay, yeah, the blandest zero imaginable. Like, did not take any risk. Prevent defense, Matt. You're talking about that. They're playing not to lose.
Yep.
Which is a strategy to lose.
It is.
When it's that close.
And they showed them talking, and they're having a totally off-the-cuff convo.
totally normal.
Where Hillary is like, I'm so worried that Trump is in the pocket of Putin.
She goes, the thing about it, and it's very interesting because, like being on the, House Armed Services Committee and then, of course, Secretary of State, like she's implying I have access to the raw shit.
Uncut.
Folks, she has seen the documents.
She's seen the documents, and she goes, the thing about Trump's agenda is that it's other people's agenda. And the way that Putin is trying to infiltrate our political apparatus, I'm very disturbed by it.
She saw it back then.
It's like that was filmed in like January 2017.
1,000,000%.
1,000,000%.
Meanwhile, Tim Kaine is standing there looking like a fucking fresh-born kangaroo. Fucking just magenta pink.
The other part I liked was that the conversation begins with like Tim kind of starts it, in the script, and he's talking about like
in the bit.
Yeah, in the bit, like talking about like, I was talking to so and so last week, and like basically it's so important that we beat Trump because we're staving off fascism.
He said that Obama called him and said,
"Oh, it was
Tim,
Obama." There,
you
yeah,
gotta
of
beat
course,
Trump.
of course it was.
We can't have a fascist in the White House.
Yep.
And then at one point, Kane's wife, I think, chimes in and is like, well, Trump's agenda is himself. And Hillary's like, you're going off script. His agenda is Putin.
Tim Kane's wife completely contradicts like the stagecrafted moment she's trying to get, which is why she was never heard from again.
If anyone's seen
Tim Kane's wife, please. It's like Shelley Miscavige, basically. She's hanging out with Shelley somewhere right now. So then we get a whole bunch of shit about how Russia is targeting the election with cyber attacks. And once again, there is zero explanation of what these cyber attacks are or how they worked or what they did.
It's
just
the election.
cyber attacks. They're cyber attacking our elections.
Yes.
Then we get into the Access Hollywood tape, which they thought was going to be like the absolute coup de grace. The election's over
Just
at
like
this point.
spiking the football.
And to be fair, I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and we
I think we all did.
he was admitting to sexual assault.
This was a pre-Joker America.
Yeah.
Like this is when crimes were still not funny.
Yeah, right.
Were we ever so young?
So
So
we were all a bunch of-
unjokerfied.
We were all a bunch of dewy-eyed Dick Graysons.
and then Podesta shows up talking about how his email was hacked. Doesn't mention the fact that he opened a phishing link that
Or that he eats babies.
Yeah, that as well.
Talk about that at all.
Yeah, it does not talk about
Which he
that.
does.
It does spirit cooking.
So again, it's just Trump gives a press conference with after the Access Hollywood tape, and honestly, a brilliant political move.
Yep.
Holds a press conference with Jennifer Flowers,
Absolute
Kathleen
Juanita
Willey.
Broderick.
Yeah, Juanita Broderick.
Broderick,
Yeah,
yeah.
Which they don't even say
None
the
of their
name.
names
They don't say the names of any of those women.
And they don't say the
exist.
name of Juanita Broderick the entire four.
They mention
episode.
Paula Jones and Monica Lewinsky,
Right.
but all of the other Clinton accusers are left unnamed entirely.
and therefore totally
And completely, no one will deal with that or even bring up what they're alleged or their
because they're
stories
like
whatsoever.
they're not even worth responding to. They're
Exactly.
illegitimate somehow.
Their
And,
only
like-
importance is as a
And
political
the thing
prop
is,
for Trump.
they basically say, we were in a really tough spot because the thing is, Hillary's husband Bill is also a sexual predator.
Yes.
They all but say that.
Yeah.
And then they just go back to the post debate, scrum, and I'm like, can't believe this fucking team of winners managed to choke at the very end.
I mean, even down to this documentary, and again, it's the focus is on the biography of Hillary Clinton, of course, but the 2016 election is the sole runner of all four episodes.
episodes.
The through line.
Literally
That's
no
the
mention.
A-plot.
Literally no mention of what Hillary Clinton's platform was,
No.
what she would try to do as president, what she was campaigning on, what even as she was being like, "This my candidate was just out there ranting and raving." It's not back to and I was trying to do XYZ to make the lives of Americans better. It is all distilled down to the personality contest between these two people, a personality contest that they lost handedly. And even if I was trying to massage this, being like, well, maybe a little bit in here, you should talk about how you were a valiant fighter for the needs of working people, and Donald Trump was derailing this
earlier on in the series, but yeah.
Well, they just vaguely say she was what's it? The name of this episode? A fighter for women or whatever?
Yeah,
whatever.
Champion.
Champion.
That she was just a vague, benevolent force for women.
They're just giving up the game.
When she
She
wasn't
didn't
calling them a
run
bunch
on
of dumb
anything.
hicks.
She didn't offer people anything.
Yeah. No, they
So-
never try to address that.
Then
Less than 10% of her ads were about any policy.
Even though she swore up and down, as Trump was being mean to her, all out, and the media and the emails, can we just talk about policy? That's
Right,
all
right.
I
You
want to talk
weren't,
about.
yeah.
and she
No.
doesn't even in retrospect.
A race where she doesn't have to make any promises she knows she's not going to keep and just gets to talk about somebody else being rude. That was the ideal campaign.
It was.
Where have
They
I
were
heard that
so
before?
happy. They were like, this is perfect. I can cruise in there on a promise to be decent and then just make deals with Republicans and never have to back up anything I said. And then she loses it, and it's like, this damn Trump, he didn't let us talk about policy.
Yes. Yeah.
Revolting.
Horrifying.
Just truly repellent.
Just totally
Just truly
lying
repellent.
scumfuck.
So then we jump back in time to 2000. Bill Clinton is out of office, and Hillary Clinton just says, I wanted to take a break from politics. That is until eugenicist bog ape Daniel Patrick Moynihan decides to retire. And it just so happens that every New York Democrat just says, Hillary, why don't you
What
run
are you
for New
up
York
to?
Senate?
Me? You really
Me?
think me could do it?
Yeah, Hillary. And then they talked to one of her inner circle people who were like, well, we thought it was ridiculous. I mean, the Senate's too small of a stage for her. What, a person who's never held elected office being senator from one of the biggest states in America is too small
The
a
height of
stage.
hubris.
Yeah, unbelievable. And then, of course, it just, then like 9/11 happened. But then also like she won that election easily. She won it by like 70% against
New
Rick
York.
Lazio. It's fucking.
Yeah, that guy's eyes were fucking so crossed. He looked like he was like watching a tennis match at all times.
Then we get a little bit of Hillary after 9/11. Where she's like, I went down there and it looked like Dante's Inferno.
Yep.
Any description of hell, I will put this up against it. She faced hell, and she says she got $20 billion in relief from President Bush for New York State, which is like her big achievement. And she's like, for all my disagreements with President Bush, I will always be grateful to him for that. And it was just like, what were those disagreements again?
Yeah.
Could you talk about?
It wasn't about the Iraq War.
And then from that moment, we skip right through the better part of a decade, and
The only thing she did in the Senate was go to George and say, we need $20 billion. And he said, I give it to you, implying that she got it
They do
as
not-
if there was not going to be a massive fucking aid package
To where
for the biggest, most
9/11
important
happened.
city in the
Yeah,
country
she
and
got
the
it
financial
single-handedly.
headquarters of the entire global economy.
And so then right after
So wait,
that,
so one more thing here. And one clip, the last clip I'm going to share from Joe Klein, which is the most disgusting thing he said in all 4 episodes of this. He said, greatness of spirit is the most important quality of a president, like Truman or JFK.
I'm always saying this.
Like Harry Truman, the hack Missouri fucking politician,
the hillbilly
who is
dumbass.
like Joe Biden, just fucking jammed in there to get Henry Wallace out of the way by the right wing of the Democratic Party,
Yep.
shuffled the whole deck. FDR died. This fucking know-nothing crook just he's put in charge of the Cold War. Starts the Cold War
starts the
immediately
Cold
after
War,
World War
nukes
II.
Japan unnecessarily.
Incinerates hundreds of thousands of people in Japan. Totally unnecessary. That's what Joe Klein considers greatness of spirit.
Yeah.
Then JFK, another know-nothing moron.
Almost destroys the world
Yes.
with his feckless idiocy in Cuba. A guy who just thought he deserved the presidency by virtue of the fact
The
that he was
only thing he
good-looking.
ever wanted to be president for was to get pussy
Yes.
and do
Yep.
fucking amphetamines.
Yes. Yep.
Which is like on its own not that bad of a thing.
But it's not
just
greatness of spirit.
Don't call it greatness of spirit.
yeah.
So then, like, this is Joe Klein talking about her running for president and ultimately saying she didn't have that ineffable quality that Obama and Harry Truman did.
Yeah.
Is that just she was never like open enough with her heart and her soul,
Yeah.
or some horseshit like that. Again, her entire career in the Senate, voting for the Iraq
Iraq
War,
War,
all
no,
that
Iraq
never
not
happened.
mentioned.
We literally never
The Iraq
hear
War never gets brought
The
up.
word
the
Iraq
word Iraq.
Not at all.
We never hear it.
didn't happen.
You're right. Like
Never
literally
happened.
0
And then
times.
it's like,
Yeah.
to the extent
It's
that
almost
they talk,
like Iraq has been.
Beauregard
memory-
wrote a fucking book called The Gulf War Did Not Take Place. And they were watching the Hillary documentary, and it never happened.
If only there was some kind of project to resuscitate the
Oh, oh,
memory
oh.
hold.
I'll be doing my
War.
plug again
Okay,
as we
great.
close out. Don't worry.
But like, here's the thing: it's like the 2008 election, which he runs against Barack Obama, and a field of other Democratic candidates too. That whole election is given maybe 30 seconds to a minute of space to breathe. And be like, a main reason is that people want to, like, he basically just talks about it like, well, Barack and I ran together and we walked into the White House holding hands, and like, it's just, they gloss over entirely how unbelievably nasty that campaign was to Barack Obama, again, like, against each other, just how brutal.
Starting birtherism.
Yeah, the birtherism, like all the racist white working class shit.
we were
Okay, so
pounding the table, chanting, "Show the turban photo."
yeah, show the turban photo. Show when you look
That has
like
been
Toad.
almost totally memory hold.
It's a
also.
memory hold entirely.
Like
And-
it's hard to even find online.
In the documentary, it almost comes off as if they didn't even run against each other.
Yes.
Like, it was just like, oh, he showed up and he was really inspiring, and I was of course running, and then we teamed up,
and
I
then,
did
she
Secretary of
says, "I
State."
was so happy and relieved when he won."
She was relieved.
You know, she was so happy when.
Yeah,
when
she was so happy that she'd have to wait 8 years instead of 4 to run again.
Yep.
to lose
And-
again.
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing, though. In like the way they talk about the '08 election and Hillary not winning that, is that like the Hillary tour goes, the journalists, the tour guy, the journalists, and the people in her inner circle, both collaborate to pitch just so hard this idea about how America just isn't ready for a woman president, and tying her presidential aspirations to all women everywhere being involved in politics. And as we said, doing incalculable damage to the prospects of women holding office in the future in this country.
that was the entire pitch of her 2016 campaign. I was also impressed by how they very like savvily thread the needle between America's just not ready for Hillary in 2008, and also like, wow, pretty weird that they were ready for this black man.
Yeah, it was like
You know, like, there's
it's
like a
positive
little-
toward Obama, and he
Yeah.
ends up being in it, but it's not. It's like saying that
It's
there
a
was
little bit
nothing
of like
between,
oppression Olympics.
It was like he wasn't even that good. That's not why he won and she didn't. It's more like no one was ready for a woman in general. So a black
And then
man got to
Obama
go.
Yes,
was just
yes.
they talk about him as the new thing.
Yeah.
It got a lot of
the
excitement.
new hotness.
Yeah, the new hotness. And then, of course, Obama does show up in the one-on-one interviews, and he says, let me be clear. There was never any doubt in my mind that Hillary would be my Secretary of State, which once again, just for his entire cabinet at every single moment from the time he took the oath of office or even before that, nothing but fucking the wrong decisions with this fucking asshole.
Yep.
Just has doomed all of us many times over with his fucking feckless fucking cronyism
Awful.
and corruption.
Disgusting.
Letting Hillary Clinton into your fucking White House after everything she did to him. He's like, we had a tough campaign. That's the only time they acknowledge it. But he says
team of rivals.
essentially, I always thought she was just very smart and capable.
Even though I was a political neophyte, I was able to kick her ass not that hard, proving that she was an unelectable oaf and an incompetent. I was definitely going to put her in my cabinet and then clear the deck so she could run after me. No way that could go wrong.
Then, of course, as Secretary of State, here's some of my favorite parts: is when they set up that she had this sort of adversarial relationship with Vladimir Putin.
Oh, this
And she
is so
talks about
good.
how, like, when Vladimir Putin won the election, those elections were fraudulent, where it's like, yeah, imagine living in a country like that.
Yeah.
Fake elections.
Yeah, imagine
ballots going away.
And here's the funny
votes
thing
not
is,
being
like,
counted.
they reference the fact that this was a reset, because George W. Bush famously said of Putin, like, I looked in his heart and I saw his soul, and I know he's a good man. And they were like, listen to this fucking idiot rube get rooked by this like KGB agent. Then they talk to this guy Jake Sullivan, who's a Clinton Torgo Renfield, a Clinton simp.
He's a translucent man, a completely
they talked to a
translucent
Clinton
man.
simp after setting up the Bush clip to be like, can you believe this asshole? Hillary Clinton saw right through that and knew what a cold-eyed killer and villain this guy was, and that it's almost like one day he would get his revenge on her.
Yeah.
Then this Clinton milksop says, I had the opportunity to see them, Vladimir Putin and Hillary Clinton, interact one-on-one, and even though he didn't say it, I could tell that he had a grudging respect for her and saw her as a worthy adversary.
He was the Carla to her smiling.
yeah.
Because he says the first half of that is he says, I could see how much he hated having to deal with such a powerful, strong woman, but then for the same reasons he respected her,
Which is
and her
why
grit.
he single-handedly had to take down her 2016 campaign.
It is
She's too much
just
of a threat.
parody.
Yeah,
She was gonna own him too
simply too much of a threat.
Then, of course, we're now entering the sort of post-Chapo era, or at least things that have been referenced on the show.
The
We
before
talk about
and the after.
Benghazi. Benghazi ain't going away, folks.
ain't going away.
And it certainly ain't going away from this documentary, even though they give absolutely zero context for why Ambassador Chris Stevens was in, as they admit, this sort of small backwater city in the middle of Libya, of which we have no diplomatic presence for heretofore.
Also, why were there wild militias in Libya?
He goes. He was tragically attacked by an Islamic militia that was somehow there, and we were devastated here. And it's like, how did these I thought Libya was pretty secular. It was like kind of authoritarian country, but
Gaddafi kind of had all that shit on lock for a long time.
What happened there? And it's just never ever explained at all.
That she was the prime mover
Her and Samantha
in
Power.
overthrowing Gaddafi was not mentioned at all. It cuts directly to Benghazi. Like I was saying, like there's fake news, and then there's shit that like doesn't necessarily lie, but emits enough connective tissue and context and just chain of event that you are dumber for having watched it.
Well,
if you watch this without knowing anything, you are dumber, even if you haven't been explicitly lied to.
But it is funny
you can
that they
knit
just say,
facts
like,
together however you like.
But it is
right?
funny that they do reference the fact that, like, sort of like against protocol and like, a tradition, Chris Stevens chose to go to Benghazi on his own for some reason. For just some reason, they were,
just hanging out.
The U.S. Diplomatic Corps and State Department, wink, wink, had a very strong presence in this like small city in Libya.
Yeah, and they were in contact with all these heavily armed militias that we had given guns to so they could overthrow Gaddafi. And at the same time, we were funneling weapons to rebels in Syria. No connection there. Stevens was just going in there to give Benghazi a vibe check.
Well, it might be more nauseating than the Iraq part, because the Iraq part, I mean,
They don't even mention it.
They don't even mention Iraq, but the only reason, and of course, check out my new show Blowback on Stitcher Premium. Enter code Chapo in order to get a year off. That the Iraq War was a huge crime, but Libya might even be more nauseating in this context, because the only reason they do bring it up, in which Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Samantha Power and the rest turned it into an open-air slave market and destroyed a civilized country, is the only reason it's brought up is to show how the Rethuglicans made Hillary sit for 11 hours in a damn hearing when she was innocent as she's ever been, and what a bunch of baloney that was. And that's the only reason we ever hear the word.
Yes. And therefore, if you're still someone who's raising hell about like Hillary Clinton should answer for Libya, you are also like a crook and a crony.
Yeah, you're making common cause with these.
It's only if they could have if they didn't have to bring it up in order to set the
exonerate
stage,
her.
Exonerate her, and then set the stage how she was going to like unjustly be forced to answer for it in 2016. They would have omitted that too.
And there's there's always that kind of unfortunate double act where the Republicans bring something up in the stupidest way possible, i.e. Benghazi, and some weird not real conspiracy. And then it overshadows the actual, much more serious and bloody conspiracy that was cooked up by Hillary and other people, and delegitimizes it as a thing you can enter into the discourse. So then it's just a punchline, and it ends up in the documentary as another thing she triumphed over, this fraud.
Then it cuts back to the last time, to like the A plot, the 2016 election. And here's where it gets good, because we all know what's coming. And I'm gonna just like, there's it's too much boring shit. Comey, the fucking email, Anthony Weiner, hilarious. You all know the story, but it's just again about how unfair everything was to Hillary Clinton, and that nobody could have foreseen all these surprises coming. Blah blah blah. We then get to, I'm just jumping ahead to the fact that the documentary brings up, but never ever confronts or deals with the fact that she did not even show her face the night that she lost. The AP had called it for fucking Trump. She sent out John Podesta. Matt, I remember you screaming at the television in that bar in Gowanus the night it happened.
Yeah, you cum-eating freak.
You called him a cum-eating freak, which is still controversial
Actually,
to this day.
In retrospect, that was kind, because at that point, I still thought Pizzagate was mostly made up.
They don't acknowledge. They say like the staffers didn't want them shooting for this doc.
Yeah,
they say didn't want them shooting for the doc this night because there was like an air of nervousness. They do not even allude to the fact that she left all of those fangirls waiting in the Javits Center until 2 a.m. and then sent out Podesta. There is no footage. There is no acknowledgement.
The filmmaker herself.
It cuts directly to the next morning.
The filmmaker Nanette. This film is directed by Nanette, by the way.
It feels like it.
That's not a joke. It is. Look at the IMDb.
It's an airing of grievances.
So the filmmaker asked Hillary Clinton, "Why didn't we get any footage of you on election night?" And then Hillary Clinton, that's when she's looking at her phone in one of those off-the-cuff modes.
Oh, wow. I don't even know the camera's on.
And she just goes, she just says, we didn't want to.
Yes.
The phone is in the foreground, and it's like obscuring part of her face. Like you see the Apple logo and stuff, and it's cast off again as so like faux, like this is natural and unscripted, but it's actually like a pretty savvy way to dispense with what I think is a very valid question from her own supporters, which was, why couldn't you give us 5 fucking minutes on election night? Yep. But no, they just dispense with that legitimate complaint entirely.
She doesn't care about them.
She
thinks they're pissed.
I just love the fact though that she held the phone up, and she didn't even bother to do like fake business. You know, like
put it in
scrolling with the thumb.
She's just holding it
in front of her, like you do.
Well, she
with the phone.
kind of like squints like once.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you looking at?
She's reading about walnut sauce, probably.
What is that?
It's a pizza.
Don't
pizza.
Don't start. I mean, all I'll say at the end here is like, as it wraps up, and you see you see all these simps get their hearts crushed on that night, which is very funny. And
there's a very funny moment. No, this was after one of the debates, just for one last Bill Clinton simpery of her coming back from one of the debates, and him literally Bill Clinton literally bunny hopping in joy after one of the debates.
He's simping for her.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Ladies, we all know that feeling when
so
your
your man does little
So she,
cute
she,
little
says, she
hops.
says about this. She says, basically, I don't have any regrets about the way we ran the 2016 election. She says she has no regrets, and she does this artfully, right? In like a way that is both unmistakable but also totally cowardly. Is that she does imply, without saying it directly, that there's just something off about the 2016 election.
Yeah.
She cracks open that door just enough for the Hillary Fedayeen watching this to be like, yes, I always knew it. She knows it. She's telling us that the 2016
Hillary
election
warned us.
Hillary warned us that the 2016 election was actually stolen by Russia.
Yep.
That Donald Trump did not
And the
win the
filmmaker
election.
gives her a huge assist there too, because at the beginning of the episode, you see the candid conversation about the Putin. She saw it coming, and then how in the middle of it, it's leavened with he and I were always at loggerheads when I was Secretary of State, and so by the end, it's all but there.
And the way they get around it is that Hillary says, I've been involved in elections like my whole life,
Right.
and this one was just different. Like none of us saw this coming.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, I bet you fucking didn't.
Yep.
I bet none of you saw it fucking coming. But the way she says it, it's like, well, why didn't anyone?
Why
see
wasn't
this
this
coming?
like other ones?
Why was this different? Which is, as we talked about on the show, like Virgil has banged home numerous times. If you had been paying attention in the weeks leading up to the election, you would have saw her collapsing at every state. Like, forget the national polls. She was being hollowed out in every one of those states. She lost 10 states that Obama won in 2012. 10
bungle.
states.
That is a pretty
That's
insane
pretty
You
bad.
thought O'Bungler bungled.
Yeah, that is really bad. So then we get to the end and dealing with this defeat, and we get Paul Begala back again to say one of the worst things I've ever heard.
And he's become younger.
Is she says,
because it's Benjamin Button.
he says, it was incredible. After the election, all these people decided to engage in politics and do it in the most Hillary way possible.
The resistance.
Talking about the resistance, the pussy hats, and the women's
the
march.
real victory.
Yeah,
She transcended the
They
election.
cut to footage of not only the pussy hats, but also Rashida Tlaib and
Yes.
AOC winning,
Yes.
which is hilarious because far from Hillary even lifting a finger for them, I'm sure she was actively campaigning behind the scenes against them.
And Tlaib just booed her.
They are also just a refutation of everything she stands for, her entire brand of white corporate
We
feminism.
saw with our
and
own
she's taking
eyes.
ownership of them.
We saw with our own eyes a 48-hour media cycle entirely based around Rashida Tlaib booing Hillary Clinton at a Bernie Sanders event. And they show a montage of women entering politics, and it's AOC and Rashida Tlaib are fucking
But in there with
front
the
and
Klob
center.
and fucking
Yeah.
You know what it
Annabelle
is?
Spanberger, the fucking CIA
what it is?
agent from Virginia.
It's that Hillary lost the election. Gandalf fell off the thing, but then she comes back as Hillary the White.
Yes.
And she's more powerful than ever because now she's like this transcendent. She's moving armies of women.
You strike me
and
down, Donald. I will emerge more powerful than you could imagine.
Exactly. So again, she's vindicated because even though the Russians stole it for her for Donald,
sure did.
She is now more powerful, as you say.
Well,
than
and
we could ever
her
imagine.
legacy lives on through any woman
ever.
Any woman who's out there taking up space, who's asking to speak to a manager, who's running as a leftist.
I'll be
If you're a
there.
woman out there doing your
If
thing,
you're actively booing on me and shitting on my entire legacy, you can only do that because I walked so that you could run.
I called the police at Grant Park so you could
Just be ready for Biden to collapse on stage at the video convention.
Yep.
and then Clinton just comes down like Owen Hart.
No, she's the fan man. She comes on the fan man.
I'm hoping Owen Hart anyway.
And then she dies.
No, she'll come out like the Undertaker in a coffin and just rise out of it. Oh man. So then we get to the end. Hillary says, "Were there rough spots? Yes, but I have no regrets, and that's where we are. I can still lose elections for all the guys back home, and why mess up a good thing? And that's that."
And then the marker clicks. It's like, don't forget, this was just a fun,
casual chat.
Yeah, this was just a fun. We were hanging out in
Yeah.
Hillary's living room, and this was
and
also
then she goes to take
casual.
off her fucking lap bag like, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
Are
close.
you a fighter or a follower?
So we're gonna do some plugs at the end, but let's close this one out to close out this whole series on the Hillary Hulu series. On the count of three, we feel great. 1, 2, 3. We
feel great.